Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about the creative process regarding music and why you should make music for yourself and not necessarily for other people. Now what do I mean by that? Because people say that sort of thing a lot. Oh, you should create for yourself and not worry about the audience's interpretation of it or whatever. And you know, it can sort of sound like, oh, shut the hell up, yeah, make stuff for yourself, no, duh, obviously. Well, when I say make stuff for yourself, what I kind of mean by that is just make music that aligns with your taste. So whatever your taste is, like for instance, if you make sort of hip hop beats, I imagine that you're someone that likes hip hop in general and you like that kind of sound. If someone's out there making rock music, I imagine that they like to listen to rock music in their spare time. If someone makes EDM, then I think they listen to EDM. Like every artist that I've seen that I know that makes music, they make music that kind of aligns with their own taste, and I encourage you to do the same. Don't go for stuff that's necessarily like what you think others might want from you. Make what you want for yourself, and if other people like it, then they're going to join along with you because they see that you are being yourself and doing your own thing, and that shows a level of confidence in yourself and in your own ability that is quite admirable. I think it's admirable to just be yourself in your creative works and just to do what you feel is right regarding your own music. So with my music, I'm quite into my sort of prog rock sort of stuff. I like my psychedelic rock, my acid rock, and you know, I like stuff along those sort of lines. Like some of my favourite bands are like Camel, King Gizzard, and various stuff like that. I like a bit of Tool as well. So I like these kind of progressive rock things with lots of long songs. And when I got into making music, I was a bit worried about making long songs because it felt a bit egotistical to be a nobody putting out 9, 10, 11-minute songs. Am I expecting the audience to listen to 10 minutes of a nobody? Well, no, I'm not expecting them to listen to 10 minutes of a nobody because I am making these songs for myself and for my own listening pleasure, and that to me is what should come first. It's important to make stuff for yourself first and let the audience join in on you. It's the same sort of way that, for instance, if you're trying to find a relationship, you don't want to be someone that you're not. You want to just be yourself, and if they like that, then you can just carry on being yourself. And that's a way better way of existing and having a relationship. And the same sort of way it works with music. If you just are yourself, you'll find an audience that like the same sort of thing as you, and you'll find like-minded people out there because you're nowhere near as unique as you think you are. At the end of the day, you're not particularly unique individual. So you can use that to your own advantage and make stuff that is tailored to your interests, to suit your audio sort of musical taste. And then from that, you can use the fact that other people will like the same kind of thing as you to your advantage. So the more you make, the more chances you have of someone latching onto one particular song. That's why I believe in quantity over quality. That's why I believe that you should make as much stuff as possible and ask questions after the fact. I feel like it's important to just try and try and try again, and eventually just keep mining away, and eventually you will strike gold. And as you continue your musical journey of learning instruments and learning different styles and learning different things that and you know, you might do some heavier tracks, you might do some softer tracks, you might do some longer tracks, you might do some shorter tracks, you might do some with vocals, you might do some instrumentals, you might do some with a weird crescendo in it, you might do something with a weird little bossa nova section in it. You might just have some fun with it and just do stuff that fits whatever you like. If you're someone that's like, you know, you have a lot of synthesizers, maybe you make synthwave kind of stuff, you know, you explore the sounds that you enjoy and just do what feels natural to you and just make stuff that feels right for you. Because you'll never be able to be someone that you're not. You can never convincingly be a musician that isn't really you. And you can kind of tell that with various artists that you can see maybe they got big in the 80s or the 90s and they're still trying to make that sort of thing now. But you can kind of tell their heart's not quite in it and they really like something else because they're spending a lot of time with their other projects and not so much with their main band and that kind of thing. You can kind of tell if their heart is really in it. And if your heart is in it, then people are going to latch on and you'll be timeless no matter what, compared to if you don't have your heart in it and you're just chasing an individual trend or an individual idea. People will cotton onto that because people are quite smart. Your audience is way smarter than you possibly could give them credit for. Even if you do think they're smart, they're smarter even than that. is my overall point. And so you can just use that to your own advantage by just being yourself, being the true version of you. And don't be afraid to put the true version of yourself out there, because the true version of you is quite nice. They're quite a decent person at the end of the day. And so all you need to do is just keep making as many things as you can, and you'll eventually find something that works. And once you carve out a sound for yourself that feels you, that feels natural to make, and what you'll find is you'll try and do, like, say you try and make a song in a certain style, right? You'll never emulate that style properly. Like, say you want to make a Pink Floyd style track, okay? And you sit down, you're like, okay, so how does Pink Floyd do it? Like the boom, 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 boom. And they do that, and then they might have some like bluesy guitar solos over it, and they might have their large synthesizers and organs and stuff like that going through it. So you use the same elements and the same ingredients that they use for their music, but you'll use them in different ways, and you'll end up creating a different product, even though you're using the same tools and the same ideas. Because you aren't Pink Floyd, you aren't David Gilmour, you aren't Roger Waters, you aren't Nick Mason, you aren't Richard Wright, you're just you. And so if you try and make that, if you're trying to force yourself to put yourself in that little Pink Floyd box, that's not going to work. But if you just take some of their ideas as inspiration to make your own song and allow it to just be what it's going to be, then it will be a lot more interesting. It's like the same way I like to experiment with modes in music. So like, say recently I've been doing F sharp Phrygian. That doesn't necessarily mean that you stay 100% within that, because you can dip out of F sharp Phrygian, keep in the same scale, but losing the Phrygian feel. And that is still just as valid. You know, when you see, like, if you are someone that looks at like music tutorials and stuff, you'll see that, like, well, we don't want to lose this tonality. You can lose that tonality if you want and get a different tonality, because it'll end up being your thing, your product, your idea and your sound, and it'll be unique to you. And that's just going to come from your natural experimentation. What you feel, what draws you, is going to take you down an interesting rabbit hole. And I think that that's part of the beauty of music, is that everyone can have a crack at it, everyone can do their own thing, and everyone has a voice and everyone has something to say. And why not say it? Because you've clearly got something you want to get out there. So why not just stop worrying about it and just start doing it? Because I think why you want to create isn't necessarily for the popularity or the fame or anything like that. You want to create because you have a thing that you want to say, and if other people can latch onto it, then that's nice. That's nice that they do that. And it's great to be creating and constantly trying to improve yourself and constantly trying to top yourself. But at the same time, don't pressure yourself into trying to top the last thing you did. The newest thing you did doesn't necessarily have to be the best thing you've ever done. It can just be another one, and another one, and another one after that. And eventually you'll find something that is the best thing you ever did, and it'll probably be something that you didn't actually put that much thought or effort into. It's like recently I did an album in a day called 12 Hours of Stubbornness, and there's a waltzy track on it. It's the second track on it. It's called Look All Around. When I was making it, I thought that was going to be a write-off on the album, but no, it's actually been the one I revisited the most, and it's the one that I like the most, because I tried a weird experiment, and the experiment worked. Not every experiment will work, and that's totally fine. But sometimes something will work, and once it does work, why not just try it again? So I might make another waltzy song at some point, or I might make a bossa nova song at some point, or I might, just try weird things, and see where it takes you, because it will take you somewhere interesting. And the creative journey is unique to all of us, and everyone's journey is unique, and everyone's path to, musical aptitude is different. That's essentially the message that I wanted to get across with this video. So I think that's basically it, is make music for yourself. And this isn't just limited to music. Make books for yourself, or whatever it is you want to make it for yourself primarily. And if what you have to say is interesting, other people will follow along, because you do have something to say. You are an interesting person. You've got something to get out there into the world, and you've clearly got a drive. Otherwise you wouldn't be watching a video like this. So why not just start and not worry about what other people have to say, and just do it for yourself? I made a lot of crap, and I liked it. I liked that crap, no one else liked it, but why should I let that get in my way? So I'm going to keep trying new things, and keep experimenting, keep developing, keep growing as a musician. And eventually I managed to make stuff that other people could relate to and could find some sort of solace in, and that's brilliant. you know, and as time goes on, I'll improve, and eventually the stuff I make now, I'll feel the same way about stuff that I make now that I feel about the stuff that I made 4 years ago, which is that it's completely unlistenable garbage. And that's totally fine, because in a few years from now, I'll have new music that I'll think is the best stuff. And then a few years after that, I'll have new music that I think is the best stuff, and it'll make the stuff that I made in the future look like the stuff that I made 4 years ago, which is complete unlistenable garbage. And that's cool. It's good to keep developing, keep growing, and just doing it for yourself. And that's not a selfish thing. It's not selfish to make stuff for yourself, because, you know, if you have the drive, then why not get in that car, put the key in the ignition, and just go? You know, that's essentially what I wanted to say. And yeah, that's basically the entire point of this video. So thank you so much for watching this. If you have any music that you're trying to work on, please put your ideas for it in the comments below. And if you want to join our email band that I've been setting up, please give me an email at officialmorrisonfilms@gmail.com. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day. And I'm just going to wander off and leave you with this shot, because I'll tell you what, I love it. It's the fog. The fog's making it so good, isn't it? Look at that. It looks beautiful in real life. God, it looks pretty decent on the camera as well. Nice. So, yeah, there's one thing here that's about music, and there's one thing here-ish that's about film, and then at the bottom, somewhere around here on the bottom half, that's the subscribe button. So click one of those things. Check out some of the more material that's on the channel, and yeah, have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about learning an instrument by releasing an album. So this comes into something that I've been preaching about for quite a lot, which is learn by doing, not by studying, because you can learn so much more through the experience than through the academia. Which is why I have probably a problem with the education system at large, because it emphasizes learning by studying rather than learning by doing. But that'll be a whole nother topic for another video. For now, I want to focus on you. Are you learning an instrument right now? Is that a guitar, a bass, keyboard, violin, trumpet, saxophone, glockenspiel, harmonica? Are you learning to sing? Whatever. These are all instruments that you can learn, and they are time consuming to learn. It's going to take you years to master them, and even then you still won't feel confident, and then you'll get better and better and better, and you'll get to a point where, you know, you look at yourself 5 years ago and think, God, I was awful. But then you'll get 5 years from then and you'll look at that person 5 years ago and you think, God, I was awful, but I'm all right now. And then 5 more years will pass and you'll look at yourself then, you go, God, I was awful then, but I'm all right now. And it will continue like that for the rest of the time. Because as artists, we are always learning and evolving and trying new things, and we're never content to just stay with this one thing that we're doing for the rest of the time. We don't want to do that forever. So as we get better and better and better at something, the best way of actually improving isn't just through practice, but you can use practice in various ways. Practice doesn't have to mean sitting there learning all the chords, do A, do B, do C, etc. You can also learn by doing. So just come up with a 4-bar measure, okay, C, D, E, F, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And you just play that, E, C, D, E, F, C, D, E, F. Okay, I've done that, right? So what do I do with this? Now I can lay some MIDI drums over it. How do I learn MIDI drums? Well, now I've got to do that. So I've got to figure out how I learn MIDI drums. Okay, now I figured it out. And then I put some MIDI drums under it. Bam, I've got a song. It's a very basic one. It's just C, D, E, and F, just 4 chords that make a 1, 2, 3, 4 chord progression, which isn't massively interesting with a basic MIDI drum beat under it. But you have now made that as a part of your learning process, as a way of learning chords and learning music theory. You've learned more about music theory and what sounds good and what doesn't by the experience of doing and having made this song, let's call it for now. So let's take this a step further. You want to make a song, a proper song. So that's going to involve various parts, it's going to involve various arrangements and compositional techniques and stuff like that. And then you're going to want maybe have some lyrics over it, and you maybe want a structure to the song. So you might think, okay, well I don't want to do the old convention of the verse, chorus, bridge, chorus thing, I want to try something else. And you might often be told, well, learn to follow the rules before you learn to break them. You don't necessarily have to, because you're going to be making a load of crap anyway right at the beginning, because you don't know how to sit within the rules. So you're always going to be breaking the rules no matter what you do, because you are fundamentally at this point an outsider to this craft, because at this point you don't know how to play an instrument, or you're very amateur at it. And you can use that for an artistic expression. And the best way to do that is to break the rules rather than to stay within them and make something that's cliche or boring or has been done to death by and done better by more experienced people. So, you know, even though you might be sort of told, well, do it within the rules first before you learn to play outside the rules. If you play within the rules, you're going to make a load of crap anyway. So you might as well play outside of the rules. As long as you have a respect for the rules and you are breaking them for a reason, and not just breaking them because you feel like it or you did it by accident. Never break a rule by accident. Always break a rule with some purpose to it, right? You don't have to play the guitar perfectly. You don't necessarily even have to play it in time. That can be part of the effect that you might be going for. You don't necessarily have to record it very well. Look at the entire lo-fi genre. It all sounds like crap. None of it's mastered or mixed properly, but that's all part of it. That's all part of the appeal to people. People like it because it is unpolished and it's rough around the edges, because it feels like a genuine expression to certain people. To other people, it doesn't sound like a genuine expression. It just sounds like a load of talentless hacks just pumping out stuff that, you know, they couldn't even be bothered to record the thing fucking properly, you know? So it's up to the audience to interpret your art rather than for you to make the art and push your interpretation onto others, because, you know, we're living in a world where the death of the artist has already happened, and it's up to other people what your art means rather than you. All you can do is try and guide them in the right direction, and the better an artist you are, the closer you and your audience will align on the meaning of your works. You'll be like that rather than like that, okay? So now that you want to make this song, how do you proceed? How do you go forward? Well, let's use a guitar for now. Let's say you're learning guitar, but this all applies if you're doing keyboard as well. So, all right, I need to figure out how to play some chords. Okay. What kind of chord progressions are good sounding? So what you can do, you can find a chord progression maker on the internet. I can't remember what it's called. I'll try and remember to put a link in the description. And what you do, you can just chuck C in it, E in it, G in it, and then maybe B in it. So I don't know what that is exactly. It's 1, 3, 5, 7 or something like that. You put that in and you see what sounds good. You try different things, and you try it with this because it's a nice simple way of actually putting them together, because you don't know how to play all of these chords yet. You don't even know how to do an F chord properly yet, so you might want to work around that and maybe learn a different type of F, or maybe you put an F diminished in instead because that's easier, or an F augmented because those are basically just an A minor with the third just raised slightly. You can just do stuff like that. You don't have to necessarily you know, worry about the overall product, because you at the moment don't know how to make perfect works of art. And not that there are perfect works of art, but you don't know your own process well enough yet, and you don't know your own vision well enough yet, and you are still finding your voice. So it's better to make as much stuff as possible while you are finding your voice, rather than to try and find your voice and then speak. It's better to learn by having conversations than to learn how to speak by reading a book and then going out and giving a speech in front of 1,000 people. It's just so much easier, and then when you get to that speech, you've done it so many times before that you know what to do, you know the ropes that you need to go through, and you just do it, and you're confident in it, and you're confident in your ability, and you're confident in your ability to actually get this done, and done well, because you are assertive that you can make this work. And if you believe in yourself in that way, then you can make whatever you want. You can just make an album even though you don't know how to play any instruments. You can make a film even though you can't hold a camera. You can make these expressions, and people can either take something from them or they can't. And it's your job to just make it so that they can take something away from it and that they can get some emotional response, because that's what you want generally. You want some emotional resonance to come from the work that you have made to the people that you are making it for, your audience, your target demographic, let's say. So now you've got these tracks, you've got a bunch of tracks, you've already learned how to do MIDI, so that was fine, that was easy. And now you've put some chords together and you've done a couple variations on it. So now you've got that and that together. So now you might want to put a lead line on it. A lead line is basically a melody. It's basically something that goes on top of the da 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 da, and then on top of that I could go da da wow da da wow 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 da da wow wow. Those two probably wouldn't work together, but you figure out what works together, what doesn't work together, because you want to have some harmonic, not necessarily harmonic complexity, but harmonic interest to your work. If you just have dun 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 with no variation, with no new things coming on top of it, with no progression or adventure to the song, then people are going to get bored by it and they're going to turn off. And you don't want your audience to be bored. You want them to be intrigued, even if it's in a way of, Jesus Christ, what the hell is this? You know Corey bloody Feldman's Angelic to the Core? What a load of crap that is, but I love it. I love how much of a pile of crap it is because it's so interesting. It's almost like outsider art, and you can do that as well. And that's what it's going to be like at first. But if you just keep grinding at it and pumping at this, creative thought process that you keep sinking yourself into, you will get better at it over time and over time. Well, the first album that I made was called the Morrison Royalty Free Suite Volume 1. And it was basically me learning how to play the keyboard. So I did an album and it sounds awful and it's terrible and I've disowned the project, but it's still something I made, and I can only be proud of the fact that I did do it because it led to Volume 2, which is slightly better, and then Volume 3, which is slightly better. We're still not good yet. Then Volume 4, and then Volume 5, and then finally Volume 6, I start to feel semi-comfortable with it, and then Volume 7, it's a bit better, and then Volume 8 is the first one that's got songs on it I'm actually proud of, and then Volume 9 comes along, and then Volume 10, and then by the time I'm at Volume 10, I'm comfortable with myself. I've found my voice, I've found what my music is and who it's for and why it should exist. And I've carved out that space for myself. I've found my voice and I'm using it to the fullest extent, and I'm enjoying that. And now I'm moving past the Royalty Free Suite and actually working on a real album, which is called Decisions in Another Language, because I only learned how to play all these instruments, 2 instruments, bass and guitar, which is basically 1 instrument, guitar. The only reason I learned how to do that was by creating. If I'd done it by studying, I would have not made anything whatsoever. And that's just my process. Other people might have different processes. Maybe this won't work for you. Maybe you can't learn an instrument by releasing an album. Maybe you can. You won't know until you try, and I encourage you to try. Thank you so much for watching this, and have a great rest of the day, and play some fucking music, man. Have a good one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. It looks fucking miserable back there, doesn't it? And this is muddy. This is really muddy. Can you hear that? Really squelchy. But I kind of walk around, so there's a bit of grass that's just off the camera I can walk on that's not muddy at all. I don't know why this bit's so muddy. It's like God just decided to just rain on this specific area. Or really, someone's chucked a bucket of water on it, haven't they? Probably. Anyway, bye-bye. Thanks for watching us up there, and 2 videos here. Click them, or else. Nah, I'll probably cut that bit. Don't want to threaten my audience. Or maybe I've kept it in and kept this bit in as well. Meta. Hate all that meta shit. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about making music, particularly how you can make a lot of music in a short space of time. And you know how you sort of see artists and musicians and you see that they come out with an album maybe every 3 or 4 years, and you think, bloody hell, why does it take so long for them to actually make stuff? Well, there's a good reason for it in the, they've got the marketing side towards everything, they need to get everything done that way and they want to perfect everything because they have an audience, they have something to lose if they put out a load of shite. If you put out a load of shite, you have nothing to lose. So what's to stop you from just putting out a load of shite? Which is exactly what I did. When I started to learn instruments, I just began making music and releasing it, because I feel like the best way to actually improve and to do stuff is just to put as much out as humanly possible. So in 2020, I put out my first album, and then I also put out my 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th albums. And then 2021, I put out my 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th albums. And then 2022, I put out another 5 albums. And then 2023, I think I put out 3 albums. And then this year, I think I put out 4. Something like that. I don't really remember exactly how many. But the way that I kind of did that is I've sat down and I thought about what is an album. An album is about 10 to 15 sort of songs, maybe a bit less if you've got like longer pieces, like 10, 15, 20-minute pieces. Maybe you can have an album with like 2, 3 songs on it. And so I just started making as much stuff as possible. If I wanted to learn a new little musical idea, say I wanted to learn the Dorian mode, I made a song with the Dorian mode. I Googled Dorian mode, B, guitar, and then I looked at it and I practiced it a little bit, and then I made a song experimenting with it, and then I did another 20 songs experimenting with that, and then I would sit in one sort of scale and I would get acclimatized to it and comforted by it, and then once I knew it inside and out, I would move on to another one, and then another one, and another one, almost like learning parts of a language, like learning vowels and then learning like the number, like counting in another language and stuff like that. So honestly, I would say to make music, just explore the general tenets of music theory. Don't necessarily have to learn music theory, but just explore one topic at a time. Like, do you want to figure out tempo? Well, maybe make a song where you experiment with 2 tempos and you kind of maybe go a little bit faster for the chorus and maybe a bit slower for the verses. Maybe try something, if you want to mess around with structure, try, you know, foregoing the verse, chorus, bridge, chorus thing, and maybe doing like verse, chorus, weird instrumental, crescendo, ambient section, chorus, verse, outro, post-outro, something like that, you know, just try weird stuff like that. If you wanted to do something where you want to mess around with weird ethnic tonalities, look up a fun tonality and just mess around with it. You don't need to make it all sound good. It doesn't necessarily need to sound good. It just needs to sound like you, really. And because, look, here's the thing. I feel like I've made an awful lot of crap music. I feel like everything in 2020, everything in 2021, everything in 2022 is completely unlistenable as far as I'm concerned. But sometimes I get a message from someone sort of going, oh, bumping this track at the moment, really good, man. And I'll look at it. And it's a song that I did like in 2021, and I'll listen to it. And the bass is completely blaring everything out, and it sounds like the guitar's out of time, or like something's out of key, or my singing is absolutely god-awful. And like, you know, these sort of things. So as far as I'm concerned, it's complete garbage, but other people don't necessarily see that because they're not as critical of your work as you are, because you know yourself inside and out, you know your journey, you know where you've gone, you know how you've improved since then, you know where you went wrong there, and so on and so forth. And so I feel like if you want to try and improve, all you need to do is just put yourself out there and allow yourself to be vulnerable and see what happens, because it's music at the end of the day. If you put out some crap music, I don't think it's really the end of the world. Someone will listen to it, not like it, and they'll get on with their day. And if you feel like you've gotten really good to the point where your previous stuff is holding you back, just start a new band name. Just make up a new name for yourself or a new pseudonym. I've gone through loads of pseudonyms. And it's a nice way of just uploading stuff to Bandcamp under a new pseudonym. And also you can kind of go back to your previous stuff and do little compilation albums under your new pseudonym with some of your best tracks and kind of compile your best stuff and filter out a load of the crap that you actually put out, because there's a couple songs that I did in the past that were quite good. So, you know, I put those together in a compilation, just the good stuff, and then, you know, in a few years, maybe I start another pseudonym because I don't like the stuff that I'm doing now, and then I'll have more of a backlog, so I'll be able to do a couple more compilations under the new name, and I can just keep doing that until maybe, who knows, one day people might actually start finding this music and start actually listening to it. And also, try and find your voice. You'll recognize what your voice is probably a couple years in, I would say. If you keep at it quite regularly, you'll find out what you're doing and what your voice is and why you're making music a couple years in and what sets you apart from the general crowd. And at first it will feel like that's you making mistakes, and it will feel like you're trying to be part of a sound, but you're failing. But it's not necessarily that. It's that that's you. That's how you sound. Like, no one sounded like Syd Barrett, for instance. Does that mean that Syd Barrett was a bad musician and he just needed to work harder and practice more so that he could sound more like someone else? You know, was Frank Zappa doing something wrong? No, these people found their own creative lane and they went into it and they did stuff that was quite fun with it. Like Bob Dylan, for instance, he made a lot of music with very, very basic music theory. Maybe not necessarily the best singer or the best guitarist or the best harmonica player, whatever. I'm not saying he was bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just saying, you know, it wasn't about the technical ability. It was about the creative storytelling capabilities that man had, because he was an absolutely amazing lyricist. He still is an amazing lyricist and still an amazing songwriter, to the point where other musicians would come along and like cover his tracks because they were just amazing, amazing songs. Like, you have something in you, somewhere in your repertoire of ability is something that makes you you compared to everybody else, that makes you unique amongst a sea of other voices. Everyone's got that thing, and if you figure out what that thing is and hone in on that thing and carve out a space for yourself, then you'll be doing something pretty well. You'll be on the right track. So what I think you should do is, after this video, just make a song. Doesn't matter if it's good. You know, just set out to do it quickly, because I found that some of my favorite songs are the ones I just rush out. And the ones that I spend weeks or months working on sometimes don't turn out to be the best ones. It just comes down to what happens. If you make as much stuff as possible, some of it's bound to be good, because you keep throwing darts at the dartboard, you're bound to hit bullseye eventually. That's the way I see it. And there's nothing wrong with doing it that way, because the more you create, the more you learn of yourself. And I think that's a really great way of expressing your own sense of self and figuring yourself out, because who are you in terms of your taste in music? Well, you can find that out pretty quickly by making music, and you'll figure out what your taste is pretty bloody quickly at that point. Like, I've got a fairly eclectic taste. I think everyone's got a fairly eclectic taste. And, you know, I'd like to try and make songs that cover as many aspects of that taste as possible. I'd love, like, at the moment I'm into a lot of political sort of hip hop sort of stuff, like Akala and Low-Key and like Immortal Technique and stuff like that. Now, obviously, I am not going to start rapping, but I would love to get a rapper on board and maybe like work on some beats and do stuff like that. I've never done music like that. I've tended to stick in the krautrock, prog rock, sort of psych rock kind of lane for the longest time, but I'd like to explore new sort of things. I'd like to make pop songs, I'd like to make R&B, I'd like to make some lo-fi, sad boy sort of stuff. Try stuff, just try all these various things. I'm not actually very into lo-fi, sad boy stuff, but it's quite easy to make, to be honest, and it's quite satisfying going into the thing and just working a lot of it through the door. So sometimes you do stuff just as a technical, creative exercise. Sometimes you do stuff because you've got a specific message you want to get out there. Sometimes you just want to experiment with your instrument, and so you make an excuse to experiment with that instrument. Say you've just figured out tremolo picking, so you make a song where you do a lot of tremolo picking. Say you do a song where you figure out hammer-ons quite well, so you do a lot of hammer-ons. Say you figure out a song and you play piano and you figured out some really cool boom 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 sort of thing. Just, you know, do all of these various things. You can do stuff like that, because you can make music quite simply. If you don't have any resources whatsoever, you can even go in GarageBand if you've got an iPhone, or you can download Reaper for free and just work within the MIDI. You can do whatever the hell you want. You can record stuff on your phone and then upload it to your laptop and then take it into Audacity and put the pull stretch effect on things, which can then lead you to creating these really ambient soundscapes. You can do so much stuff. You could do field recordings. You could do, you know, spoken word sort of stuff with like little beats underneath it. You could try and figure out like lo-fi hip hop, or you could try, you know, getting a bit of a band together and just recording your jam sessions. You could do so much, and there's so many ways of, you know, getting into music, and there's no right or wrong way of actually starting music, and there's no right or wrong way of doing what you love. So that's basically the message I've got here, which is just make as much as you possibly can, because the more you make, the better you'll get at it, compared to if you worry about trying to make the perfect thing, because you'll do that. You'll spend all that time trying to perfect that one thing. And all you've done there is teach yourself, rather than teach and apply that knowledge. Because the thing that you make afterwards, make that thing afterwards very, very quickly compared to the thing that took you ages. And see if that thing you made very, very quickly is something where you've taken the lessons from what came before, applied those lessons in creative and novel ways, and possibly come out with a better product. So that's essentially it. That's the message of this video. Get out there, make stuff, do it now, do it now. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a great rest of the day. And yeah, pick up your instrument, have some fun with it. And yeah, upload it for the rest of us to see, because there's not enough music out there that's you know, genuine from the heart, from people like us, you know. So yeah, take care everybody. Bye bye. Hey up everybody. My name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about songwriting in particular, how if you get too attached to one song in particular, it's going to impede your progress as a musician. Now, I recently came out with an album called Decisions in Another Language, and it's an album that I worked on for a long time, about nearly 2 years, right? Which for me is a very, very long time to be working on one singular project. And there's a song on it called Communication, which I did work on for 2 years. My first demo of it I recorded in February 2023, and I kind of kept recording more and more demos, and I'd record a demo, listen to it, go, oh, I don't quite like the guitar solo there, or oh, I need to add a new little B section here, or oh, I need to add some synths here, or oh, this bit actually needs to come into this bit, or oh, actually no, I need to restructure the entire thing. And I was just taking the same puzzle pieces and rearranging them time and time again, and looking at this picture and going, why doesn't it look cohesive? And I feel like if you do that and you get too attached to one song, it's going to get in the way of your progress as a musician, because you need to try and record as many songs as possible in order to learn and develop as a, creative. The only way that you're going to get better is by doing. And if you just get stuck in one thing in particular, you're not really doing anything new. You're just recording the same thing again and again and again and again. And you're going to end up looking at it and just kind of going, yeah, it's all right, I guess. And then that's it. And then now, what do you do with this? You've spent so long on it that it's risen in your mind as being this really big thing, and your vision is just this far away thing that you can never quite get to. You're always trying, you're always leaping for this vision each time you record a demo, and you never quite get there. And you're getting a little bit frustrated with yourself, like, why can't I get there? Am I not a good enough musician? Am I bad at playing the guitar? Am I bad at mixing or whatever? And it's like, yeah, I know I'm not a perfect mixer. I know I'm not great at playing the guitar. I know I'm not great at all these various things. But sometimes it all comes together and it manifests into something really interesting, because it's capturing lightning in a bottle. And you're sat in this giant monsoon with lightning going on all over the place with this big can of Coke, and you're trying to capture all this lightning in this bottle because it's made of metal, right? So you're trying to capture all this lightning. And if you're spending too long on one song, you're sat in the exact same place after the lightning struck, waiting for it to strike again. And they always say that lightning never strikes twice in the same place. So you're going to be sat there for a long, long time. I know technically it can strike in the same place twice. That's a myth, but generally it's not going to, more than likely. It's a sort of thing like, if you are trying to find someone in a shop, right? You went shopping with someone and you're in the supermarket, and then you kind of got lost from one another. If you're both wandering around trying to find each other, you're probably not going to find each other, compared to if one of you just stays there and the other one does the searching, you're more likely to be found. So in terms of this metaphor, I feel like what you should be doing, instead of perfecting this one song and trying to get it to this one spot where you're finally happy with it, just accept that this is what the song is, this is the song, this is the finished product, and you're only going to just make the finished product again and again and again, because this is what it is. It's not going to be anything that it isn't, because this is what it is. So you need to make it and move on, okay? You need to move on to greener pastures, you need to make new stuff. I find that if I just record 1 or 2 demos, right, so maybe spend a week on a song, that's the ideal amount of time, and that's when you get, because you have all the passion, it's when you feel it the most intensely. If you're trying to come back to a song that you wrote like a year ago, and you're trying to make it better or bigger, or your true vision, now that you see the true vision, you're not going to quite get there, because you don't have that same mindset anymore. Like with the song Communication that I talked about at the start of the video, it's a song that's about a topic that I don't resonate with anymore, and I had to go and I looked at the vocal track for it, and I just thought, I don't quite like the vocal track here, so I redid the vocals for it, and I just thought, well, it just doesn't quite feel the same. I don't have the emotional resonance to this song anymore, to the actual message of the song, because I've moved on. I've moved to a different spot in life, and so this song is no longer relevant to what I'm actually doing. And yet I'm trying to force it to be something that it isn't, okay? It's a little song that just does its own thing, and I'm trying to turn it into something that it's not. It's like having a kid that is really into, I don't know, abseiling, right? And he would be a killer abseiler, right? But you're sat there like, no, you need to become an accountant. And you keep telling this kid, you need to become an accountant, you need to become an accountant, and you keep sending him to accounting school. And he comes back and he keeps failing the classes, and he keeps showing a lack of interest. And you're wondering, what's wrong with this kid? Well, it's obvious what's wrong with this kid. He doesn't want to do fucking accounting. He wants to be an abseiler, okay? And this song doesn't want to be your vision of it. It wants to be what it is, okay? It's like how if you drive a car, you have obviously control over the car, but say if you've got icy roads, or if you've got some kind of, I don't know, weird situation, maybe your clutch is a little bit broken, right? In this metaphor, all of those things are I suppose, a lack of skill or a lack of development as a creative, and you're not brilliant at actually establishing your vision and achieving it, right? It's better to just keep doing stuff, because as you do it, you're going to hone your craft and you're going to get better at achieving your vision. You'll get better at driving, and the better you get at driving, the faster you can go, and the better you can drive, and you'll be able to turn the corners more efficiently. You'll be able to drift. You might be able to do donuts around the ring. You know, you can do all sorts of stuff like that once you get the skill. And even once you have the skill, I mean, look at Tool, for instance. Tool spent 13 years making Fear Inoculum. Is it their best album? No. Some would argue it's their worst album, and they spent so long doing it. And it's like, Numa's a good song, 7 Empist is all right. The rest of them, I don't fucking remember anything about them. I genuinely don't remember what they were like, what they sounded like, because they obviously spent so long recording them again and again and again, developing them and trying to force these songs to be something that they're not, that they end up just being streamlined. And I think that's the only outcome that comes from trying to perfect something that doesn't want to be perfect. This song doesn't want to be perfect, and I'm trying to force it to be. I'm trying to force this song to be an accountant when it doesn't want to be. It wants to be something else. It wants to be what it wants to be. So I should allow the song to guide me, rather than me trying to take the song by the reins and drag it along kicking and screaming, because all that's going to happen then is I've got an unconsenting song in a genre that it doesn't want to be in, doing stuff that it doesn't want to do, and trying to be something that it isn't. And I think that with making a song, if you spend too long getting caught up in the small details of, you know, your true vision and trying super hard to just get that and only that, you're missing out on all the potential other avenues that that song could have taken, right? And one of them is more likely going to be better than what you actually had in mind for it. Because I imagine when you start a song, you kind of imagine like a dun 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 dun. You got a little thing in your head, right? And that is what you put down onto the page, and then that's what you end up playing, and that's what you put into the DAW. And then you sit down and you listen to it, and it sounds a little bit similar. You know, the melody's vaguely alike, but maybe it's heavier than you thought it was going to be. Maybe it's more acoustic than you thought it was going to be. Maybe you thought it was going to work on guitar, but it turns out it needs to be done on a piano, right? Maybe it's just different from how you originally saw it, and that's okay. It's okay for it to be what it is, okay? Because each song is already out there, technically, because there's only 12 keys, there's only a certain amount of modes, there's only so many ways of making the same thing, in terms of there's only so many songs that are out there in potential existence. There's a lot, obviously, but there's only a finite number of potential sounds and potential directions, right? And it's just up to you to pluck a particular song out and call it your own, right? Because it's come from your mind and you've found it in your own head, and you've put it down onto you know, a sheet of sheet music, or you've put it into a DAW, and you've managed to turn it into something real, and you've manifested this song that previously was just an idea amongst many other ideas. I mean, think of the amount of people that you've probably spoken to that have had an idea for a song, or an idea for an album, or an idea for a film, or whatever, and they never went and made it, right? But they had the idea, and so obviously the song technically doesn't exist, but the idea for it exists. And all they can do is craft it from an idea into something that's actually malleable and actually there and actually tangible, right? So you're trying to make this song, and the song is also trying to realize itself, and you should accept that as part of the process, rather than trying to force the song to be something that it isn't. Because at the end of the day, if the song doesn't want to be that, then it doesn't want to be that. And if you just sit and try and force it, it's going to come out mutated, and it's going to come out looking a bit weird. It's just not going to be right. It's the same way if that kid that wanted to be an abseiler ended up becoming an accountant. He's going to be miserable for the rest of his fucking life doing accounting. Right? He might, after 20 years, kind of get used to it and start going, right, okay, that's £4,000, right, yep, great. But he's going to be miserable throughout the rest of his life, because he's not what he wants to be. He's not what he, and same way with the song. If the song isn't what it wants to be, it's not going to be quite right, and it will never sound quite right. And you can sit there and try and force this song down every single fucking direction that you can think of, but you'll never quite get it quite the same as when the lightning was there and when you felt the passion for this song in the moment. So what I would say to you is, rather than sitting and worrying about perfecting one song, is just do the song, and right, that's the song, I'm done. Close the book, okay? And then move on to the next one, because you're never gonna get that song to its original vision, and that's okay, because the song is what it is, and that's fine. You can always try and make your vision with another song, or another song, and just keep doing things that way. There's no end to the amount of songs you can do, right? Like, I was speaking to a mate who wanted to do some development on my song, The Girl on the Balcony, right? He wanted to turn it into something, and I really liked his vision for it. And he sort of said to me, you know, I was a little bit miffed actually when you kind of just announced that you were going to release the song. And I was like, okay, that's sort of fair enough, but there's nothing stopping us from just making your equivalent of the song, calling it something else, and that's going to be it. Because it's just a basic thing in C# minor. You can have many songs in C# minor. You could just try the idea again, but with a different twist on it. You know, you could resolve it on some other level. You could maybe put a breakdown in as opposed to some, like, I don't know, quaint little bridge. Or maybe you could have a different chorus, maybe some big anthemic thing as opposed to what you had before. You could try different things. You can maybe make it faster. You could make it in a different time signature. You could just play with the form. And that's totally fine, because you can make as many songs as you want, and there's no one out there to stop you. So I'm going to kind of wrap this up by just sort of saying, if you're trying to make a song at the moment and you've been working on it for a long time and it's really personal to you, so the fact that it's so personal means that you want to realize it to its fullest potential because it's such a personal thing to you. I think if you're going at it with that sort of intention, as I was with that song Communication, I think you're doing it wrong, and you're going to end up with a product that you're going to look back on and not be entirely happy with. You might look back at it and go, oh yeah, it's very well polished. You know, I clearly crafted it quite together and it's quite tight, but it doesn't feel like it's got soul anymore. It feels like I had to force it, and it shouldn't feel like you have to force it. Like, whenever I listen to, say, a Bob Dylan track, it never feels like I'm listening to someone struggle to make a song. He makes it seem so easy. And that's where the fascination sort of comes in, and that's how the songs are able to manifest and realize themselves. And also, a lot of songs from bands, right, that then go on to play live, they'll develop the song as it goes on. Like King Gizzard, for instance, have a song called Float Along, Fill Your Lungs, which was on their 3rd album. It's the title track. And it's like a 7-minute kind of sitar, George Harrison-y kind of drone sort of thing. And it's really nice, right? And over the next 8-9 years since that song came out, they've turned it from that into like this prog metal kind of fucking crescendo driven thing, right? Now, if they went into making Float Along, Fill Your Lungs with that in mind, and they would only be happy with the song once it achieved that, I don't think they would have ever made it. And that version, if they managed to do that in 2013 when the song came out, it wouldn't have been as good, and it wouldn't have developed into the song that it is today, and it wouldn't have become what it wants to be. So I would sort of suggest that, because I can always go back to Communication. I don't want to, but I could always go back to Communication, play it live, and like develop the ideas and sort of add a little extra section or jam out various ideas on it and come up with new stuff, and then take those ideas and put it into a new song, and then so on and so forth. And that's a very good way of working, because you find new ideas from the moment, rather than sitting there with your ideas on a sheet of paper that's gone yellow from coffee stains and all this, that, and the other. That's like, there's pins on it from when you pinned it on various different walls, because it's been so long since you had this original idea that you have to remind yourself what the song even is and what it's about, that you're going to end up looking at the final product once you eventually finish it, after possibly months or even years of struggling and letting it get on top of you. You're going to look at it and just be like, was all that effort worth it? Was it really worth it? Or was the first few demos of it, were they better? And I was just slowly sterilizing this thing over time. And that's the question I want to leave you with, is, are you sterilizing your product by constantly refining it, or are you just refining it and perfecting it and getting closer to your vision? Do you think that when you spend a lot of time on something that correlates into a better quality product? Or do you sort of take my approach with it, where you should just throw as much stuff at the wall as possible, see what sticks, and then make your further things that you're going to throw at the wall out of that material that stuck? And then you're going to get more stuff that sticks to the wall, and eventually you've figured out exactly what sticks to the wall, and bam, you're hitting it like 90% of the time. Like that, whoosh, whoosh, and they're all sticking. So that's kind of the thing that I'd like to leave you on, is don't worry so much about trying to perfect this singular vision that you've kind of made really big in your mind, because you're never going to get there. And just the sooner you accept that, the sooner that you can move on and put whatever this song is behind you, because eventually it will just become this big weight on top of you that is just sitting there and sitting there and sitting there, just getting you down, and it's sitting on top of you, and you're just like, get the fuck off me for a little bit, please. And once it's off you, it's brilliant, because it's like, it's a weight off my shoulders. And I don't think that's how you should release a piece of art. I think that you should be proud of it from that moment. And I was kind of sick of communication by the time that it came out. I just wasn't happy with it anymore. But I was like, I spent 2 years on this, and it's never going to get better than this. So that's kind of the end of the video, really. Thank you very much for watching. And yeah, if you've made a song, tell me how long the longest that you spent working on a project was. And was that the best project that you made? So that's going to be the question, very concise question. Yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Have a great rest of the day, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Oh. Hey up, everybody. My name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. Today, I want to talk to you about the album that I've just released called Decisions in Another Language. So that's what the album art kind of looks like. It's a picture that I took up in Derbyshire somewhere. And it's a sunset, because the whole point of it is kind of, it's a breakup album basically, and the whole idea is sort of closing one chapter and just moving on, right? And finding your new future for yourself, as opposed to you as part of a duo or a couple or whatever, right? That's the general idea behind the album. It's semi kind of concept album. A lot of long songs on it. There's like a 10-minute, there's an 11-minute, there's a 9-minute, 6-minute or something like that. Anyway, there's a lot of long songs on it, and I like my long songs. I like my long, sprawling kind of soundscapes, and I wanted to do something that was a bit more thought out and long form in terms of the production of it, because I know I preach a lot on this channel about making things very quickly and making things very efficiently and just getting stuff out the door. And for this album, I've been working on this album for a long time. And the idea is that I've been developing these skills with the guitar. I'd probably made about 12, 13 albums by that point. And I thought, right, it's about time that I actually just sat down and just made one proper album where I can sit and say I'm honestly, genuinely happy with every single track on it, and remain happy with every single track going forward. Because what I tend to find happens is, when I was releasing albums, and still to a degree actually now, is I'll release an album and I'll be happy with every single track. And then as time goes on, I'll go back to one track in particular, but actually that was a load of shite. And then I'll go to another one, and I'll be like, oh Jesus Christ, I released this. And you know, I've gotten a few comments lately that have sort of disagreed with my idea of publishing anything. They seem to agree with the idea that you should make stuff quickly and efficiently. Like, I did a video about making 100 songs as quickly as possible, because apparently your first 100 songs are going to suck, so you just make them as quickly as possible. And a lot of people disagreed with my idea of actually releasing those songs. And I feel like I should clarify something. I don't think you should necessarily release every single thing that you do, but I think that if you've sat down and listened to it and thought, this is fucking sick, right? I'm loving this, then it's worth releasing, because if you like it, even at some point, even if you grow out of liking it, someone else will probably like it as well. I mean, I'm sure there's a song that you liked 10 years ago that now you go back and you're like, fucking, what was I thinking? Why did I like that? I used to like, there was a Nightcore version of some Rihanna song. I can't remember what the Rihanna song was. And I liked that about 10 years ago. And I look back at myself now, and if I had a time travel machine, I would genuinely sit down and interrogate my past self, because I don't know what I was thinking, okay? So there's room for everybody to kind of appreciate what you're doing, especially because it's not that hard to hit the upload button. There's this whole thing of like, oh, there's so much crap out there, right? So you shouldn't add to it. Well, why not? It's not like you not and going on like this hunger strike of not releasing your stuff is gonna suddenly fix everything, and now there'll just be a perfect amount of good stuff everywhere. They say that 90% of everything is crap. I think it's much more like 99%, right? But the more stuff that's out there, the bigger that 99% is, the bigger that 1% is, right? And if you make 100 songs, then you're by definition probably going to be in that 1%. by just the statistics of the numbers themselves. So I don't see why you shouldn't try and why you shouldn't publish, because it's only an upload button, and if people don't like it, they won't like it. You'll get a couple comments going, this is a load of shite, and then you can just get on with your day, and that's totally fine. But the alternative is that you know, people come and they respect what you're doing, they actually get behind it, and they actually like it, and they actually find something in what you're saying, and that can be a beautiful thing in and of itself. Like, if I took the sort of idea of not publishing everything, I wouldn't be here now talking to you with, like, this video will probably have like 300 views, and some of them get like a couple thousand views or like 10,000 views, and I wouldn't be in that position if I hadn't taken the risk of just uploading stuff just non-stop, right? So why not? Okay, because it's just an upload button, it's free. It's not that you got to pay for each time you upload something, and worse that happens is someone listens to it and doesn't like it, and that's just the nature of art in general. Like, I watched the first half hour of Killing of a Chinese Bookie earlier. It's John Cassavetes' thing, and I was really excited for it because I thought John Cassavetes, I really like him. I liked Woman Under the Influence, and I thought Killing of a Chinese Bookie, it's going to be good. I watched the first half an hour of it, and I just thought, what the fuck is this? Genuinely, I did not like it. I really didn't enjoy it, right? I turned it off after about 35 minutes, and it was a shame because, you know, he's a good director, and you know what? Other people like the film. I don't like Dune. Other people like Dune, okay? I like Joel Haver's The Hero's Journey. Other people won't like it. So we're not all just like this big homunculi of a species where we all like the exact same thing. So you need to take risks. Like, if you told someone about 15 years ago that people now would be scrolling through something called TikTok with fucking Subway Surfers on the bottom and just some garbage clip from a podcast on the top, they'd say no motherfucker would watch that. But they do. They do watch it, and they do not enjoy it, but they certainly watch it to the end. So they obviously get something from it, enough to keep themselves going. They're obviously engaged, and it's lighting the things in the brain, the neurons, and it's releasing the dopamine and all that sort of stuff. So it clearly works, and if you can develop that onto creating some kind of actual engaging actual content rather than just, you know, short form garbage, then why not? So making an album is a pretty pure form of expression, I would say, because music as a whole is generally quite vulnerable as a thing, particularly like quite sad music. Like, a lot of this album is quite sad. It's all about my fucking divorce, so it's generally a kind of a miserable sort of album, right? And a lot of it's in minor, a lot of it sounds sad, but when it gets a bit happy, that kind of makes you feel something, and when it goes this way, it kind of makes you feel another way, and so on and so forth. And the kind of general idea is that everyone will take something a little bit different from it, depending on their own circumstances. Some people might be in a relationship now that they're not particularly happy with, and they might be listening to my album Decision in another language, and they might get something out of it that's different from someone who's recently going through a breakup, or someone who's never been in a relationship ever, and they're listening to this. All three of those categories of people will get something different out of the album, and that was kind of the idea. And that's the idea behind music in general, and the emotional vulnerabilities behind music, right? Because you can say stuff in a song that you can't really say in real life, because it's too, I don't know, too from the heart, that people would think that it's sort of a little bit much or a little bit not right, you know? And you can kind of almost, it's almost confessional, the album, in a way. I don't confess anything, but it's certainly the most personal a project that I have ever done and plan to do for the foreseeable future. So I'm just going to go through the track list, right? There's 7 tracks on the album, plus 2 bonus tracks, right, that you can get on Bandcamp. So the first song is called Communication. And the point of this album is it's a divorce, and the 2 people that are in that marriage, right, go on their separate journeys, right? And that kind of happens in the first couple tracks. So the first track is obviously communication, is breaking down. It's a breakdown of communication. So it sounds like that. So it's C sharp minor and G sharp minor. So it's literally just that, and then goes into this. And then this. just kind of does that again, and then it returns to the C sharp minor, and that's the general idea for the first part of the song. And then it kind of goes into this total ambient section, which was because the whole point of this song is it's empowering sort of thing for the person leaving the relationship, the person that initiates the divorce, right? It's an empowering thing of like, you know, you're getting out of this horrible thing, a new chapter's going to begin, and you can close the book on this obviously quite shit book that you've just been reading for ages, right? And you can move on, you can spread your wings and fly. That's kind of the idea of the song, right? And then it goes down into the quiet sort of stage, and it comes back into an almost alien feeling synth world sort of thing from a guy called Dabadeya, who's from Chicago, I believe. Really amazing synthesizer, synth man. He helped me out with the synth sounds and all the weird sounds that are on the song. So thank you so much to him. I'll put a link to him down in the description so you can check out some of his music. It's quite good. And then the album then goes on to the song So I Guess This Is It, which is similar in that it's from the same perspective of the person leaving, but it takes more of a melancholic approach rather than the empowering sort of spread your wings and fly sort of thing. It's more of a, you know, this had to be done and I didn't really want to do it, but I kind of had to. I was kind of left with no choice, you know. And then it also shows the point of view of the person, like it's a little bit of the person who's being left behind in the chorus, sort of waiting for the new world to begin, essentially. So, how's it go? You were the sun. Hang on. I can't. Hang on. You were the sun that lit up the sky. I was something I don't quite know why. I forgot to turn the words to my own fucking song, and I seem to have lost the plot to play. Yeah, I can't quite remember how you play it. It's something like that. I used to be able to play it and sing it at the same time. I've obviously failed now, but basically the idea of that song is that it's taking the same empowering ideas, turning them on their head, right? That's the general thesis of the So I Guess This Is It song. And it's a lot more of a somber sort of thing. I figured, you know, you've had the intro banger kind of thing, that was like the high energy kind of thing. So now let's have a bit of low energy. Because a lot of the album is quite low energy. That's kind of the point of it, because it's not exactly a happy album, right? And then it goes into this sort of chorus, like, and I am done with you. So I guess that this is it, the end of all things. So I guess that this is it, the end of all things. Between you and I, the earth and the sky, waiting for the mailman to descend. And then it goes, so I guess, and then it just goes into does it again. So yeah, it kind of got the low energy and the high energy kind of thing together. The song's also a bit of an annoying kind of thing because it messes with tempo, so the chorus is a little bit faster than the verses. It was the first song I wrote for the album, and when I first wrote it, I wasn't actually going to do a whole album about the divorce thing. I was just going to do 2 songs. I was going to do one from my perspective and one from the other perspective. Right? That was the kind of idea. And then I was talking to someone and at the pub, and they liked the fact that I was doing both perspectives, and I thought, all right, maybe there's something in this that I can maybe do something more with this and experiment with this idea to actually expand it, right? And so I started thinking, right, how would I structure this? And I figured, well, logically, you would start basically at the end of the marriage and then just see the diverging paths. That was kind of the idea. So you got a couple songs from each perspective. For instance, the song Buongiorno Straniero is basically the opposite of communication, where it's a song about the feeling of being left behind and the sort of anger and the stuff that kind of comes immediately, you know, and you start like conspiratorially like thinking like, oh god, they were having an affair this whole time, that explains that and that explains this and all that sort of stuff, right? So that was kind of the idea of that song. It's a much slower, sort of Pink Floyd inspired sort of ballad in I feel like this guitar's out of tune. No, it's not. So how's that one go? It's also a little bit in Italian for some reason. Buongiorno, straniero, the colours inside of me are riddled with disease. Buongiorno, sconosquito, non mi fido della moglie certa dita. La puttana, la puttana. To me, I can't remember how that one goes. It's a really annoying song because then it goes into this really weird bit where it's sort of like shutting down the factory, endless paperwork to sign, and I've really forgotten all the chords to it. And then it ends with this. That's not the guitar being out of tune, that's literally what the chord sounds like. It's some B suspended fucking thing, right? And then it does it again, and then it does that. So, blah, hang on, how's it go? Nothing could ever beat this. Total isolation, I'm satisfied. So that bit there, it's suddenly it becomes, like there's an extra beat in there. So there's one bar of 5/4 in this chorus when the rest of the song is in 4/4. So it's a little bit fucky like that, and it's in F sharp Lydian. Yeah, it's in F Lydian. So you got that song, and that's quite a long one, and I really spent a lot of time like nailing down that sort of thing. I normally don't make and write out exact solos. I normally jam a solo out and kind of combine a couple ideas and see where it's going to take me from the natural improvised side. This time I made up like the solos, and I really honed the solos in because I wanted quite a specific sound. I wanted this to be quite a structured song, and I wanted it to be quite tight and rigid in its form. I made like 8 demos of it, and by the end the demos were starting to sound exactly the same. I'm just going to check that this has some. I've got 4 minutes left on this, and I've got 4 more songs to do. So we just rush through the rest of the songs because like Conclusion Delusion is really piss easy because those first 3 songs I probably spent the most time on, and then the second half of the album I went back to my more quantity over quality approach. And honestly, I think Conclusion Delusion is the best song on the album. So it's how's it go? Do we really need an ending? I mean, what the hell was that? Conclusion delusion, I see. What is 9 in my eyes? I forgot the lyrics. And then that's literally it, and then there's a breakdown, like a metally sort of breakdown. There's something like that. That's probably my favourite moment in the whole album. And then the song Butterflies was another song that was written very quickly, and it's probably my second favourite song on the album. So the 2 songs that I wrote the quickest are my favourite ones, and the 2 that I spent a year on are my least favourite ones. Okay, so I think that should sort of speak volumes about why I believe so strongly in the idea of quantity over quality, because I think that quantity leads to quality, and I don't necessarily think that quality leads to quality. It's like, because I can see on Bandcamp, right? Where's the Bandcamp? If I get the Bandcamp up for you and I show you the behind the scenes of it, right? It's very obvious what songs people like and what songs people don't like by how big the red bar is. The red bar represents the skips, okay? So the song Polaroid that was on my last album that I did in a day, right? I don't think people like it very much because it's got quite a high percentage of red. So I don't know if you can see the red right there. It's got 28 red to 65 yellow, right? If you compare that to, say, Praise the End, which is a song that people obviously like a bit more, it's got 37 red to 263 yellow. So there's way more yellow than there is red, because yellow means they listen to between 10 and 90% of it. Red means they listen to under 10% of it, so they skipped it, right? The song that I thought on that album was going to be the worst one actually did way better. It had 18 red to 66 yellow. But then look at this, Communication, the song that I told you I spent over a year doing, right? 14 red to 27 yellow. That's not great, right? I don't think that's particularly good. So yeah, that sort of should go to show you that you shouldn't be so caught up in what counts as something perfect, what counts as something good, what counts as something that's worthwhile to an audience, and why I do believe that you can just publish whatever you want, because it's only an upload button. It's not like you have to pay to do it, right? And it's not like there isn't already, like, you know, millions upon trillions of hours of crap out there already. Just adding your bit of spit to the giant spitball that the human race has made isn't going to cause it to collapse under its own weight or anything, so don't worry so much about it. Worst that will happen is someone will type a little comment that will be a bit insulting. You'll read it and you'll show it to your friends and have a bit of a laugh, and that's it, okay? So thank you so much for watching this. I know I didn't bother showing you how to play the songs because I realised it's not particularly interesting. I want to move on from this album. I don't plan on returning to these songs. The only one I plan on returning to is Conclusion Delusion, and I might play Butterflies, but I don't think I'm gonna play any of the others ever again. So they're all in the past, and it's not like I dislike them, but as I said, it's a personal album, and the way that because as I said, it's about my divorce, right? I don't really want to keep like going back to that well. That's done. It's all over. Okay. That was the point. So yeah, it's finished, the album, and I'm glad it's done, because my God, was it a fucking weight on the brain. So now it's done, I can move on to new, better projects, and I can't wait to tell you what that's going to be, because we got some new music in the pipeline. So look out for that. The Manta Shrimps email band is slowly coming together as well. Send us an email at officialmorrisonfilms@gmail.com. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of the day. Take care, everybody, and bye. Hey up, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. And today I'm not here to talk about that film. I'm here to talk about an album I've been working on for the past, I want to say, year and a half, called Decisions in Another Language, which for me has been a form of making music as a form of therapy. I've been using the music as a way of expressing myself. So the album composes of 7 tracks. There's 7 tracks that make up the album. And I'm basically just going to go through each track, and I'm just going to talk about what was going through my head when I was making it, and where my influences kind of came from, and that kind of thing, and you know, how you could make this sort of thing yourself. So I'm going to do it track by track, because it's a semi-concept album about a I'm going to get it out of the way, be blunt. I got divorced last year. Wasn't my thing, it was her thing, so whatever. But I used the album as a way of sort of figuring that out. Yeah. There's one thing you're going to have to get used to, cars and stuff. The first song was called Communication. And the song Communication was all about the idea of someone leaving a relationship, and it was me trying to empathize with my ex-wife's point of view and trying to figure out, you know, maybe trying to see things from the other point of view. And, you know, because it's very easy to get caught up in your own ego and like, yeah, I'm totally in the right and you're totally in the wrong and all this sort of stuff. And I wanted to get away from that. I wanted this to be a evenly balanced piece of art that gets things across in a balanced way, where neither person is made out to be the hero nor the villain. Okay, it's not that kind of thing. It was a fairly amicable breakup, and we don't talk anymore. But it was an amicable, more or less, breakup, and I used the album as a way of getting over it. And the song Communication in particular, I originally composed the music for it for an old project I was doing called the Morrison Royalty Free Suite, which was basically my own form of music school, where I taught myself how to record and compose and arrange music essentially. And if you listen to volume 1, it sounds awful, absolutely unlistenably bad. And volume 2, fairly similar, but a little bit better because I introduced a couple minor elements. And then volume 3, it starts to get a bit better. Another car. And then volume 4 gets better after that. Copyright. And then volume 5, it started to get semi-decent, and then volume 6, I feel like volume 6 was when I finally started to feel semi-proud of my work. And then volume 7 came around and I was refining what I did on volume 7. And then Communication was a song I wrote for volume 8, and it was the mainstay of that album. And it's one of my favorite pieces, so much so that I actually revisited it for this album. I wrote that during our breakup, because it was one of those breakups that lasted a few months, you know, on and off kind of thing, and then it was done. So I wrote it in the midst of all that, so it was a very emotionally charged time, and emotional charged times are exactly what you need to create sincere forms of expression. When I was working my old job at a bar, I was talking to my boss while we were doing like, I think we were doing the bottle up or something like that. And I was telling him like how I was working on music and stuff as a form of just like trying to not think about things, not think about the 6.5-year relationship that had just gone down the pan. And he said something that really stuck with me. He said that breakups are the best time to make songs because, you know, all the best songs were written by people going through a hard time. And I really resonated with that, and I kind of took that to heart. And I wrote a lot of the songs, the lyrics for the songs around that point in the first couple of months afterwards, but I made sure to sit on those lyrics and not rush to release anything too quickly, because I knew that my emotions would change and that, you know, in a couple of years I might look back on this project and go, oh, Jesus Christ, that's a bit cringy, you know, that kind of thing. Another car. And yeah, Communication was all about empathizing with the other side of the coin. And then so I guess this is it. Well, because Communication was a very, you know, like the phoenix rising from the ashes, and a very liberating song from my ex-wife's point of view that I wrote, trying to empathize with that point of view. And then so I guess this is it. It's a different song where it's more about, you know, a bit more melancholic, a bit like, oh, had to be done, didn't it? You know, got to do what you got to do, that kind of thing. So it's a much slower song, and it's kind of an accompaniment to the song Communication. Then after that, you got the song Buongiorno Straniero, which is Italian for Good Morning Stranger. And that song is more from my perspective of being left behind and the isolation that kind of came, and the immediate anger that kind of came after that, and like trying to come to terms with it, that kind of thing. It's a much more melancholic and slow song, more inspired by Pink Floyd and that kind of thing. It's a very progressive song in that regard. It's got like multiple time signatures, and it's in Lydian mode and stuff like that. And I think it modulates at a certain point to D minor or something like that. I can't quite remember. But it's a fun piece of music that took an awful lot of tweaking to get right. Then you've got, what have you got after that? Conclusion Delusion, which was probably the last song, second to last song that I wrote for the album. And that's all about the idea of people chasing closure and hurting themselves in the process, and how closure's kind of bollocks and you don't need it. And it's a nice idea that should remain that. It should remain a nice idea. And sometimes you shouldn't allow those ideas to realize. So it was a very, it's probably the heaviest song on it. It's the most metal song on it. It's got an actual metal breakdown, which I really like. It goes fucking mad, you know, I love it. It's in 6/8 time, and it's very simple composition, 2 chords. It's capo is on the 2nd fret, and then it's A minor shape and then a C shape, and that's it for the entire thing. And then the breakdown is just, I think it's like a B, just a power chord, just doing that, and that's it. So that's a fun sort of song. So I'm going to move that because he's going to try and get past.
What are you filming, man?
I'm just filming a bit of promo for an album I'm working on.
You make music?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your name?
Josh. Oh, sweet.
Yeah?
Back
Nice to meet you then.
Yeah, you too, man.
Have a good one.
Take care, man. This is what I'm fucking talking about, man. When it comes to, you know, just going with the flow. You do stuff and stuff works out for you. Just got a music video gig out of that. Or we might do a collaboration or whatever. I love making all kinds of music. I love music. It's never car, so I have a bit of a little bit of banter in the meanwhile. So what was I on? I was on Conclusion Delusion, and that was all about the idea of closure being a bit bollocks. And then you've got the song Butterflies, which is based on a real event that happened to me. I went out to Peckham, and I was filming a concert as a gig, and then I was on the way home. It was like 2 a.m. and this woman comes up to me, and she's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And she thought I worked for the TFL, and I was immediately kind of stricken by her. I don't think she actually knows I'm stricken by her, but if she sees this, which I don't think she will, then you know, I do like. I mean, I know you've moved away now, which is we went on a date and it didn't really work out. Not because she had to move away, but I think it was fairly amicable. I might have come on too strong because I haven't dated really. I mean, I've been married, but I've never really dated. I kind of just got like snatched up. So that was the first date I've ever been on. So, you know, sorry if I came off a bit too hard, but you know, I made the song at that exact point because I was so inspired to make something that felt like a love song, like a true love song, because I knew that I couldn't make a love song about my ex-wife that felt genuine, because it would just come across as fake, because I wasn't in that mindset. So I just kind of worked my way around it, and you know, it wasn't a long-lasting thing. It was an infatuation that lasted a week or two, and then she had to move away, so it didn't really work out. But I'm really glad that I managed to get that moment in my life down as a song, as a piece of expression. And it's probably my favorite song on the album. It's another easy one. It's 2 chords. It's capos on the 1st fret, and it's a F chord that goes into an A sus2. Really fun chord progression. Little bit fucky. It's technically an F sharp Lydian, I think. I think it's technically an F sharp Lydian, or something like that. It's a bit weird, but it's still a simple song, and it sort of sounds a bit 80s. Indie, kind of a bit lo-fi, that kind of thing. And then after that, you've got a song called The Girl on the Balcony, which was originally based on the story of another story about that same woman who I went out to meet some communists, right? And on the way back, just gonna hide that for the wind. On the way back, I was on the bus, and it was like 2 a.m. and I was on my phone thinking of ideas for this film that I was working on at the time, about 2 people that meet and form a relationship, and it's kind of a lovey story. And I was sort of working with someone else, and I was trying to. There was this idea that the phones would get swapped, and they'd have to meet up so they could exchange the phones back. And I kind of thought, we could do something more interesting than that. So I was trying to think of how they could meet, and I'm on the bus, and the bus comes to a stop, and I'm kind of leaning like that on the top bunk, on the top deck of the bus. And right in front of my eyes, the woman that I wrote the song Butterflies about, that I met on the bus, she's on the balcony at some kind of I don't know, party or like gathering of friends or whatever, and she's looking back at me, and I'm not. And there were some other people that were on the bus that were like, "Oh, there's that person. Oh, let's all wave," and they all start waving, and she starts waving, and I'm sort of like, "Is she waving to me?" So I kind of do a bit of that, bit of that. The song didn't end up going down that road because I couldn't quite find an interesting way of writing it. So it kind of became more of this general idea of being about a woman that is very lofty with her. She's a very pseudo-deep person, and you know, trying to understand that person is trying to understand someone that is apparently so deep, but maybe they're not really as deep as they think, and they use a lot of pretentious wordings and have a lot of ideas that they think are very lofty but kind of aren't. So it was kind of about that, and it was an excuse to write some pretentious-y, airy-fairy kind of lyrics. So I kind of enjoyed that. That's another song since 6/8. That's probably the slowest sort of ballad on the song, next to Buongiorno Straniero. It's another one of them. And then the final song is called Why These Things Happen, where I finally got to tap into my krautrock, my love for krautrock, my Neu and Kraft, early Kraftwerk and Can and Faustin. and more recently Camera and some certain King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard songs and stuff in that vein. So I was really able to tap into my love of that, and the song basically just taking it out of the emotional aspect of what the whole album is about, and just basically it's just a list of statistics really, and that's kind of what it's about, and that's the way that the album ends, and that's pretty much the entirety of the album. Then it closes out on this kind of really messy, fucky kind of jazzy kind of jam that goes on for a fair bit, and then it ends like that. And yeah, in terms of how I made the album, it's basically me recording all the instruments. I used MIDI for the drums. I used a combination of Modo drums, which is IK Multimedia, and I also used Stephen Slate drums, both of which I used for free. All my VSTs were free. I didn't pay for any of them. The main expense of this album was batteries for my Zoom H4n. What I would do is, before I had an audio interface that I really understood and how to work it and stuff, what I would do is I would put the backing track on an SD card. You've got to title it TRK1-00, and then maybe 01, 02 for each subsequent version that you put onto the SD card. And then you put it onto the SD card, put the SD card into the Zoom, and then you would load up the Zoom, and you would have the Zoom mic'd up. Zoom is a little handy recorder that you use to record audio. And what I did is I used my own playing, and then put it through the Zoom, and then I would take the recordings off the SD card, and then I would put them into Adobe Audition. Not like a DAW or anything, I used Adobe Audition. The only reason I used a DAW was so that I could make the drum grooves out of various loops and stuff that were available in the VSTs that I was downloading. Plus I also downloaded extra grooves, and I would adjust things here and there. I'd add cymbals, or I'd move something from being ride to being hi-hats and shit like that. And from there, all that was really left to do was just record all the tracks, record, you know, the guitars, the vocals, the bass, the electric guitar, the lead guitar, the, you know, the synths, if I had synths in it, the pads and stuff, everything really. And then it was just a case of, you know, putting it all together and getting it done, sitting on it for a bit, because now that the album is done in a demo form, I want to get some real musicians together and play this music as a live band, as a real performance. So what I've been doing lately is I've been learning how to sing and play the songs at the same time, and learn to be a bit of a front man about it, and start doing all that kind of shit, you know. And I'm just having a lot of fun with it. So if you want to be part of this album, well, first, that's a cue to play a bit from each song. So it's Communication. You see how it's a little bit kind of, it's like Pink Floyd, but a bit thicker, a bit bigger, and a bit faster. It's a bit of a jam kind of thing. It's a song that you can kind of improv over. Very simple as well, apart from the fact it modulates from C-sharp Dorian to C-sharp minor. But apart from that, it's a very simple song. And then you've got So I Guess This Is It, which is a much more slower ballad. That's in C minor, and it's something like that. That was the first song I made for the album. And then you've got Buongiorno Straniero, which is a very bloody complicated song actually. It's all got all weird fucking chords in it. It's in Lydian, it's a very slow song, 61 BPM. Not 60 BPM, because I had it at 60 BPM and that felt too slow, and then I put it up to 65 BPM and that felt too fast, so I just did 64 too fast, 63 too fast, 62 too fast, 61, all right. Then you've got Conclusion Delusion, which is again a very easy song. That's what it sounds like. And then Butterflies, sounds like that. Then Girl on the Balcony, sounds like that. And then Why These Things Happen. You've probably gotten a bit bored of listening to all that, but if you haven't, then shoot me an email, or actually put a comment down below. I'd like to, and I'd also like to see your own music, especially if you send the comment from the channel you also upload your music to. That way I can just go on the channel, I can just find your music, and I can subscribe, and I can comment on your stuff as well, because I want to support small artists and that kind of thing, because I'm a small artist myself, and I think we should help each other out in a, not in a sub for sub way, but in a way where we genuinely enjoy one another's artworks. Yeah, I think that's about it. That's all I really needed to get across. It's getting quite dark, so I feel like I'm losing so much light that there's not much point in doing this. But you've seen what it's like to just try things out and express yourself and do things. And yeah, that's what I love doing, and I'm going to try and do it till the day I die. Thank you so much for watching this. Listen to the demo version. It's on the channel. It's there. Yeah, because this is the last like 20 seconds of the video, so it's right there. It's on the, or maybe it's that side. Maybe, I don't know. It's one of the sides. Or maybe it's covering my face. Bye. Hey up everybody. My name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the music scene, particularly in London, and how it can often feel like, particularly if you're young like me, that the past was this greater time that we are now, we're past the peak of, culture and community within urban spaces, and it sort of feels like maybe these communities are dying. Particularly, I'm talking about the music community within London, the various music scenes that kind of go on. It feels like you can over-romanticize the past very, very easily, and you can find yourself lost in the sands of time, I suppose. But I wanted to challenge that a little bit with this video and just talk about things that I've sort of noticed within the music culture within London at large, fun interactions that I've sort of had with people and just that kind of thing. Because if you get out of your comfort zone and you talk to people and you get out there and you see what's going on, there is so much happening that to say that the music scene is kind of fading or faltering, to me implies that it used to be so immense. Can you even imagine how immense it must have been? If this isn't even the best version of it, and it's still this expansive and full of amazingly talented and interesting people, that and depending on who you meet, that might be a new friend or a new connection or whatever, or new bandmate, So I'm going to first talk about the Isleworth music scene, which I think is the one I first started with. So there's places there like the Cross Lances, there's the Red Lion, I think the Milford Arms used to do one, I don't think they do it anymore. There's the Rising Sun, there are more that I'm forgetting, but that's just a few of them. Oh, there's the Northumberland Arms, so that's 5 just off the top of my head. There's one that's sort of a bit further in Old Isleworth that I can't remember the name of, but it's on a little bridge sort of thing by a river. That was really nice, run by a guy called Tim. At least when I went there, it was run by a guy called Tim. And yeah, there's so many beautiful open mics in particular, and little gigs and things like that within West London and London as a whole. And these ones in particular, they all have different sort of vibes to them. So the Cross Lancers, for instance, is a very easygoing place, and they make you feel very comfortable compared to, say, the Red Lion, which has a lot more sort of higher spec musicians going there. You have like very, very talented people going to that one. There's a lot more like bands and rehearsals, like things that people have rehearsed. A lot of bands that go gigging will do an open mic there to sort of promote their gigs at the Red Lion. So a lot of people do that kind of thing, compared to smaller open mics, which are more about hobbyists coming together to just embrace their craft. So you have an awful lot of different types of musicians all coming together and networking and communicating with one another and exchanging ideas. Some of them are into the folk stuff, some of them are into the heavy metal stuff, some of them are into rap, some of them are into rock, some of them are into all these different things, right? And there's so much diversity with regards to what kind of music is being made, right? I was filming one of these sort of videos. Basically, I was just going over all the songs on the album I've just put out, and I was just talking about the messages behind the songs and what they meant to me and where I was when I, wrote them and all that kind of stuff. And as I was in the middle of recording that, a guy came up to me and we just got talking about, because he was asking, do you do music and stuff like that? Do you shoot music videos? And he was a rapper. I looked up some of his stuff, really, really talented guy. I've done a few, grime, drill, rap music videos. I'm sorry, I don't massively know the difference between grime and drill. I think grime's a bit faster and a bit more electronic in its production, but I'm probably wrong. yeah, I've done a few of those kind of videos. They're really fun to do actually, because you just get to hang out with a load of fun people and just like shoot a music video, and you can kind of just have fun with it, just doing like crazy kind of movements of the camera, and it's all going to come together in the edit. So it's a lot of fun doing that sort of video, and it's a lot of fun just talking to different types of people and finding different types of music. Like, I'm not particularly a big grime drill guy. I like a bit of Loki, a bit of Akala, stuff like that, but I've not really delved deep into it as an overall genre. And when I was hanging out with some of these guys, we were driving around in the car, and he was playing a song, and he was explaining to me what some of the lyrics meant, and there were multiple layers of thing to them in terms of the messages of the lyrics and the meanings behind individual, double entendres, but not as in like the sex way. I mean as in like two different meanings from the same phrase kind of thing. And it was so cool to see that kind of thing, because it's a genre, when I was growing up anyway, I didn't massively respect. I just thought it was a load of just utter shite, to be honest. But as I got older and older, I realized that you can't sit there in your own little world and block everything else off, because we are all part of the same world, and this music's going to exist whether we like it or not. So why not like it, Why not? It's better to enjoy stuff than it is to not enjoy stuff. So I thought I'll try and open my mind. I've tried to get into various pop and R&B and rap and stuff like that. All genres that I don't massively love, but you've got to open your own mind up if you're going to see what's going on out there in the wider world, because everyone else out there has a different little niche carved out for themselves. And that if you want to join in with them, you're going to have to compromise on where your niche is and bond together through the music that you both like. And if you're starting a band, for instance, you might have one guy who's into Korn and one guy who's into Motown and one guy who's into Led Zeppelin, And these three things, if you just shove those influences together, aren't really going to work. But if you come together and come up with some unique, holistic vision between the three of us, then you might find something really interesting that has an audience, because you only find out by trying something new. Now, about the community within this space, I feel like there is just an unending amount of various people to meet and engage with, and I love doing it. I love going out and just talking to people and networking and stuff like that. Let me tell you one story, which was this is a bit of an embarrassing one, but so I met a guy at some event, I can't remember what. And we exchanged numbers, and he said, "Oh yeah, come to my next gig. It's like free entry and stuff, and then we can talk a bit afterwards about like doing some music or doing some music videos or something like that, and I'll introduce you to the band." And so I thought, okay, and I'm going to take my camera and take some photos of them. So I was there in the crowd, and I took all the photos of them, and really amazing performance. There was one guitar solo that the guitarist did. It was truly mind-blowing. And then afterwards, we're sat out in the smoking area, right? The manager of the band is there, the entire band is there, and I come up to them to start showing them the photos so that we can get some kind of networking thing going. I'm drinking a Beaver Town, right? This is back when I was drinking. So I have a Beaver Town, and the lead singer also has a Beaver Town, right? The pale ale fucking thing. It's too expensive. But anyway, I'm drinking it. I'm drinking my beer, and I'm showing them the footage on the camera, right? I'm showing them the various photos, going like, oh, this one could be good for your social media, or this one could be a good profile picture, or oh, this one really captures the bassist like in a interesting light, shows her sort of happy or whatever. And I'm drinking my beer, and like the lead singer is like looking over at me. She keeps making eye contact with me, and I'm sort of thinking, is she like coming on to me? Because she kept drinking, like taking sips of my beer, and I just kind of kept looking at her, kind of thinking, is she coming on to me? Is this like, like a move? So that sort of thing. So I thought, oh, well, I'm not really into her, Is that kind of, no, it's just not for me. And so I start drinking the drink more, and after about 2 minutes and probably about, I don't know, 10 sips, she kind of goes, "Sorry, why are you drinking my beer?" And I said, "What?" She said, "You're drinking my beer." And I said, "No, I'm not." She said, "Yes, you are." I was like, "This is my beer." She She said, no, that's your beer. And she pulled up this beer that was honestly, honest to God, had this much in it. It had nothing in it, right? So I looked at the beer, I looked at her, and my brain just froze and nothing came out. It was like you'd flipped the electric switch off and all the electricity connecting the neurons in my brain just stopped. And I sort of said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Let me get you another beer. So I went in, I got another beer, and I came out, they were all gone. Every single one of them, the entire band fucked off. So I think I might have blown that one. But, you know, you live and you learn. You're not always going to make, you know, the best decisions. You're not always going to do everything perfectly. But at the same time, that's part of the community. And the community is so large and expansive that doesn't really matter. That one little awkward situation, that's probably a story that she's told at some other event or to other people. Like, oh, this bloody guy was just drinking my beer. And, you know, now I've told it on this thing. And, you know, sometimes these things happen. Sometimes you have little embarrassing moments. But, you know, you can't let that stuff paralyze you. You can just only keep going because there's so many opportunities out there, particularly in London, but any city really, with a music scene. I know some cities, particularly like in America or like in the middle of nowhere, they're very specific to one genre, and so you might have to adopt to that genre, which I feel very sorry for the people that have to do that, because I can't do that. I make what I make, and that's what it sounds like, to be honest. And whoever I make it with, it sounds a bit like a combination of both of us. So I know it's not like, I know it's easy to say and not easy to do, and I can empathize with like people that, like, you know, live in the middle of nowhere and they can't do some of the stuff that I'm able to do living in London. But I think there are probably an awful lot of people that are living in London that are beating themselves up, feeling like they can't do things now because there isn't a music scene anymore, because it's gone, because the complexities of the modern age have come in and destroyed everything, right? And I just want to say that's bollocks, that's bullshit, and it's not true. And if you start to think like that, then you're just going to upset yourself, and you're going to close yourself off, and you're going to treat the world like it's way too big to even approach, when it's not. The world is quite small. It's small enough that you can tackle it if you give it enough fucking like elbow grease and, you know, enough determination. And in my opinion, I think that the beauty of coming together as a group of musicians or artists in general is to have these human connections. It's not just about the making of the music or the making of the film, or whatever. It's about the emotional resonance that you provide with one another during the creation of these things. When you, for instance, you go out and play a gig with, you know, a few other band members, that's amazing. I remember there was this place called the Rhythm and Booze in Battersea. We used to go there. It was open for only like 4 months, and the reason for that was because it was dead. I really loved it, but it was like, you would be there and it would literally be you, your friends, one other group of friends, and the manager of the pub. And that would be it, right? And you would all just sit together and you would just have a laugh together. And it was like a jazz bar kind of place, and you would play like smooth jazz. I played there twice, desperately trying to keep up on bass with a bunch of musicians who really put me to shame with their like proper classical training and like their absolutely amazing improvisation abilities. Just the ability to just transpose things from like scale to scale, from chord sequence to chord sequence, and just like know a song just off the top of their head, and just like any song and just know it. I thought that was insane, and I really, really respected them. And it was so much fun. We did this one thing, my friend Toby, he likes to play the Frankie Goes to Hollywood song, Power Love. He likes to play that at like open mics and gigs and stuff like that. So we did a version where it was him on vocals, me on bass. I don't know any of the other people's names, but there was someone on guitar, there was someone on piano, and there was someone on flute. So we did the main bit of the song, and then we just jammed over the song. We turned what's like a 3-minute song into like this 10-minute massive thing where we all took turns taking a solo, you know? And it was so cool. We just like Toby would point at people and be like, it's time for the flute guy to do a solo. Bit of piano, a bit of guitar, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it was amazing, and the community that came together, and when I would talk to some of those people, they were so engaged with other parts of the community that I haven't even experienced yet. You know, like these public jams that you can sort of just join in. You just take a guitar somewhere like a underpass alley sort of place in central London, that kind of thing. And you just join in with a jam. They'll just be jamming some fun songs and you just come along. Oh yeah, have you got some ideas? Yeah, wow, do them, you know? And that's what it's like. And all you can do is try and foster that community and nurture it and allow it to be its true self, the community of musicians in this amazing city. And if you're living in a different city, then you can try and find this sort of thing for yourself. It just requires getting out of your comfort zone. Try and find, here's a good tip, try and find a friend who does a lot of this open mic sort of stuff. Because if you can ride on their bandwagon for a little bit, that helps, like, in terms of, you know how a rocket needs like fuel to take off, but once it's in space, it can kind of just go on its own. That's kind of what I'm talking about. So they're like the rocket fuel for you, if that makes sense. Like, you know, the first time I went to an open mic, I was terrified. I was absolutely shitting myself, and I barely knew how to play the guitar, and I somehow barely managed to scrape by, and you know, I got a bit of a kind of thing, and I appreciated that, because I just did what I tried to do, and I took a risk, and it doesn't matter if it paid off or not. What matters is that I took the risk, and not, you know, that I just stayed in my comfort zone. And if I hadn't done that kind of thing, then I wouldn't have gone further and further. So it's fine to embarrass yourself on stage. It's fine to be a wreck. People are going to forget about it as you improve, you know. They'll remember, oh, you remember that time when you fucking did that song, and it was like that guy said that thing, and it was like, you know, people will remember those little things, but they'll just be fun little stories, you know. That's all it is. That's all an embarrassment is. It's a fun little story for the future. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to add. I don't think there is necessarily. So I'm going to close it off here. Thank you so much for watching this. If you are a musician in the London area, then please get in touch, because I'm working on an album called Decisions on Another Language. I have released all the demos, but I want to record it with a band, and maybe, like, because, you know, the bandmates and so on will take it in a different direction as well. So we would have a lot of fun with that. Yeah, that's going to be all from me. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of the day, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, did you notice this? You thought that was just there. You thought that was just there the whole time, but I put it there. Also, this is like an abandoned thing here. Oh yeah, we were filming here the other day. This is day 5. When I do the day 5 as complete video, I am literally, that's what all this fucking gaffer tape's about. That's why there's all this fucking gaffer tape here. This was me. So yeah, this place is a dump anyway, so that's why it's cool. Take care. Hey up everybody, my name is Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about your taste in music. Now, I presume at some point in your past you were a child, and then at some point in your life you stopped being a child and started becoming an adult. Unless you are already, like, you're still still a child, in which case ignore what I said, because you'll become an adult at some point. But presuming that you're maybe between the ages of 25 and 34, which is apparently the average audience age for this channel, that means that you've been through a fair few phases of music, right? So you might have started off when you were 11, you might have been into a bit of Eminem, you might have been into a bit of nu metal, you might have been into your Korn, your Slipknot, or maybe then, like I was, and then you might have maybe started smoking weed and you got into Pink Floyd and all the psychedelic stuff, and then maybe you got a bit bored of that, and then you started maybe getting into, I don't know, thrash metal, and then you got bored of that and you started getting into like avant-garde, sort of Frank Zappa type stuff, all sorts of things like that. You've just generally developed your taste in music and grown your catalogue of albums and songs and artists that you really enjoy. And as time goes on, you will continue to find new things. And they say that when you turn 30, you stop seeking out new music and stop finding new things. And I'm not 30 yet, But from what I've seen of other people who have turned 30 and who are now like in their 40s and their 50s and their 60s, I don't necessarily think that is the case. Sure, the things that you find in your childhood will probably remain like a core part of you, and like when you're in that, you know, main sort of 15 to 30 sort of year old part of your life, when you're just discovering yourself and discovering your place in the world, that will obviously have a treasured sort of impact on you, and it will stick with you forever. So certainly, like if you grew up in the 60s and the 70s, that kind of music is really going to resonate with you even today in a way that modern music might not be able to. By the same sort of metric, when I turn 60, the music from the 2000s or the 2010s is going to have the same impact on me, and I'll see it the same way that the previous generation might have seen the 70s and the 80s stuff, if that kind of makes sense. And then obviously the generation after me, they'll get something out of the music, but that I'll be looking at kind of going, oh God, this is a bit modern and a bit confusing for me, because I understand that. Like if you're sort of older in terms of age, I don't know what else you could be older in terms of, but say you're a bit older and you know you grew up on music in the 70s and the 80s or whatever, and now you're looking at music that's coming out today, it must seem a little bit confusing, like, you know, various sounds and what's trendy now and all that kind of stuff. Like modern pop music must feel a bit weird to you, considering what pop music was like when you were growing up, and obviously you spent a lot of time away from the general pop scene. You weren't keeping up with music the same way that you might have when you were younger. So you've taken this time away and you probably lived a bit more in the past. And then when you kind of have an experiment and have a look through and wade through the modern music, you might find it difficult to find stuff that you really resonate with, because it's all so different and it's designed to resonate with a different generation and a different group of people to you. So it will all seem a little bit strange to you, and I know that's going to happen with me in the future. But I want to get to the point where, you know, I'm in my 50s and I'm like grooving to that sine wave, you know, making sure that like I actually try and stay in touch with the modern youth, I suppose. But you know, it's quite difficult to do that. But when you're evolving as a human being across the span of your life, you will find yourself drawn to different kinds of music. Like I've had so many phases of music. Most recently, I've had a very political hip hop sort of phase, like listening to like the Akala, Fire in the Booths, and like Loki's soundtrack to The Struggle 1 and 2, Immortal Technique, Logic, the black Logic, not the white Logic, the British Logic. All sorts of political hip-hop artists, Killer Mike as well, stuff like that. But before that, I had a big krautrock phase where I was listening to like Faust and Neu and early Kraftwerk and stuff like that. And then before that, I had a very sort of trippy, psychedelic kind of phase. And then before that, I was really into Death Grips, and that was like just my band for a good while. And then I tried to explore similar sort of stuff like Wolfgirl, I think it's called, and stuff like that. It didn't really resonate with me, so I didn't really move further into that overall genre. But everything that you find ends up making an impact on your mind. So now if I see another thing that is maybe in the Death Grip sort of vein of extreme, sort of not heavy but metal way, but sort of the Gabba influence, kind of extreme electronica, kind of aggression kind of thing, that if I see that in a new artist, it's going to be easier for me to get into them. Like JPEG Mafia, for instance, does a fair bit of it. I could never quite get into him. Clipping, they do a fair bit of that sort of stuff as well, so I like them quite a bit. And you get into various artists because you found one artist and you want to find more that's kind of like that. But obviously you don't do it just purely on that level. You kind of find new stuff and you see where it'll take you and so on and so forth. And it just kind of, you know, you explore the music world, so to speak. And that's how you find new things, and that's how you develop your taste, right? So as you go forwards, always be on the lookout for something new that you can fit into your overall sense of self, because the more music that you can enjoy, the more things are out there for you to like. And the more things that are out there for you to like, the better things are. Because imagine you didn't like anything. Imagine you didn't like any music. Wouldn't that be a miserable world if you just don't like any? I know that some people have there's a condition or maybe a thing where they can't get enjoyment from music. There's a medical term for it. I can't remember what it is. But I'm not talking about that necessarily. I'm talking about being, you know, you like one genre. Say you like one genre and only one genre, and you've always liked that one genre and only that genre. There's only so much in that one genre to explore, and you probably don't like all of it. Like someone who loves technical death metal, they're not going to love every single technical death metal band and project out there, you know? There'll be some stuff in there that they think is utter crap. But by the same token, there'll be some stuff in another genre that's nothing like technical death metal. Like, I'm sure there's some tech death fans that like a couple Katy Perry songs, you know? I'm sure there's a couple Kraftwerk fans that like Led Zeppelin. That's not even that different, really. But, I mean, it's a bit different, I suppose. But, you know, you've got so many different styles of music. There's so much to explore. So why not just have a bit of fun exploring it, you know? Because as you grow and evolve, new things will come into your life. You'll find new perspectives on the world. And music can help to not shift it, but to sort of define it in a sort of way where it's sort of, it is a soundtrack to where you are in the world, essentially, isn't it? It's a soundtrack to what's going on in your mind, pretty much, a little bit. You know, it's sort of like if a bad thing happens to you, you start listening to a load of depressing music. Like, you know, it's not like, you know, all your family get killed in a car crash and so you start listening to Happy by Pharrell Williams. You know, it's not going to happen. Or you might do it as a joke, but you're not doing it to actually because it's like your favourite song at that time. I'm sure someone's done that, but I don't know. I just think that it's important to grow your taste in music, to find new stuff, to be on the lookout for new sounds that engage you and tickle that part of your brain or I don't know, that make the hairs on your arms stand up. And it can be fun and it's just nice. It's just really nice to find new music. That's basically all this video is. Just saying, just go find some music and enjoy it. And yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Sorry if this shot got quite dark. It is sunset, so that does happen. But yeah, I'm just gonna wrap this up by just doing a little bit of this. It's actually quite decent, this one. A lot of these park, playground, gymnasium bits of equipment are quite shite, but this one's all right. This one is good. The other ones here aren't. The camera, by the way, is sat on, you know, there's the chairs where you kind of lift it like that and then the chair lifts up. It's literally just sat on that. So watch. I'll show you a little example. Do you see that? Hang on. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Sorry for the motion sickness. Bye-bye. Oh, do you know what? I'm going to finish it off. While that's going up and down, I'm going to go up and down on this. I don't have the time to go to the gym today, so this technically counts as my workout. Oh. 1, 2. Did you click on the things, by the way? There's one here, and there's one here. They're both good. One's probably better than the other, so you're going to want to choose correctly. Oh, there's also a subscribe button. It's right here. Here. So, click them. Click them now. That was me trying to do like an Arnold Schwarzenegger accent. Do it now. Yeah, it doesn't sound very good. Oh well. Do it now. I don't know what that was. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. Now, a couple of days ago, I set out to make an album in a day. Now, I'd seen this sort of thing going around a little bit. If you type in, I made an album in a day or in 24 hours, whatever, you will see that there's quite a few of them, particularly Andrew Huang and Rob Scallon. They've made a band called, I think it's called October the 1st, where they make albums again and again and again and again and again each year. Every time under a day. They do it in a studio and they kind of vlog the entire process. If you kind of see, you know, they're in a studio, there's like various cameramen sort of hanging around, they're all lav mic'd up and they're making the stuff in real time, and that's why the videos are all like quite long, because it's an amalgamation, edited down version of an entire day's recording, and it's quite fun. And they do little spins with it, like we use the Beatles gear, we use the Beatles instruments, blah, blah, blah. This guy also, Bradley Hall, he tends to make almost more jokey. I don't know if they are jokey, it's just he treats them a little bit jokey when he releases them, because he did a Dream Theater style one and he called it like Big Chungus's like Metropolis or something like that. And I wanted to set out to make a real album, just a normal album, like any other album that could possibly exist, and that if you didn't know it was made in a day, you wouldn't think anything of it. So I made an album called 12 Hours of Stubbornness, and here's the album art. It's this picture, this Polaroid picture that someone drew sort of my face on it, which thank you very much for this, by the way. It's so cool, because now it's been used in this. I really like this. It sits here. It sits over here most of the time and sort of watches me do stuff. I'm noticing that he is actually making direct eye contact with me as we speak. So yeah, he's really good. He looks a little bit more Frank Zappa than I do. So yeah, this has 7 songs on it. 1 8-minute, couple, I think 1 6-minute, few 4-minuters, and yeah, it's all decently long, and it comes out to about 32 minutes. So the way I thought about this album was, the day before I thought, I've been talking a lot about, you know, making as much stuff as possible. I've been talking about make music and then worry about the quality of it after the fact. I've been talking about if you go onto my most popular videos are about learn an instrument by making an album and then make an album and worry about the quality afterwards. And I've got stuff like, you know, don't worry so much about the technical stuff. Don't worry so much about getting everything done properly. Just go out there and do it. And I felt like I was saying this an awful lot, but I started to feel like I was preaching without practicing, and so I really needed to just sit down and just do something, anything, and I picked this. I wanted to make something rapidly, creatively challenging and stimulating that can be done very quickly, and an album in a day just seemed like a really fun idea, a really fun way of approaching that. So in this video, I'm going to go through each of the 7 tracks, kind of let you know what I was thinking, and I'm also going to show you the Reaper thing for it, because I did all the stuff in Reaper, the DAW digital audio workstation Reaper, and maybe it was a stupid decision, but this is the way I did it, is that I didn't set up 7 different projects for the 7 different songs. I just had one project and I just expanded it, and I kind of kept things on the same layers for everything. So like the lead guitar is on the same layer for all of it, so the lead guitar all has the same compressor and EQ and reverb settings, which I kept very simple, plain, basically stock, that I tweaked little twiddles here and there. So what we're going to do is once that pulls up, I'm going to start going through these songs one by one. I'm going to start off with Praise the End, because it was a very simple song. This was in B minor, I think. I can't quite remember. This is a pick I made out of my old work card. So yeah, it's a B minor little thing where everything follows this. I'm gonna shut it up for a sec. Where everything follows this very simple. So what I did with all of these songs really is I just needed to find something that hooked my attention, that grabbed my intrigue, and for this bass line I really liked. And it is technically following the pop 4 chord progression. 1 4 5 1 4 5 1 4 5 1 4 5 1 4 5 1 4 5 1 4 5 1. But it kind of goes 1 4 5 or 1 1 4 5 or 1 1 4 5 or 1 1 4 5 3 2 0 1 or 7. So yeah, it was a really fun thing. And then it occasionally, because you can't just have it be that, otherwise it would get a bit boring, so I also had it kind of do this E and F thing. So you kind of have those two. to sort of play with, and those two little vibes kind of going on. Let me try and find the lyrics. See if I've got the lyrics. Yeah, here it is. So I felt like when I was playing, I just felt like this dun 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 dun. Take the sheen away. Take da 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 da. That sort of thing. So I started thinking of a vocal melody, and I kind of came up with take the sheen away from me until it seems that I can dream, and this is not the life. And that really stuck with me, and I really liked that little vocal melody kind of thing. So I just came up with some lyrics, very, very quick lyrics. Honestly, I literally did these lyrics in about 2 minutes, hence why they are so stupid. Like this track, like take the wax and put it back into the candle tracks, my movements in IMAX. My brain at first wanted to say in Iraq, in tracks, my movements in Iraq. Like I don't know, the idea in my head was it was like drones in Iraq, like bombs and stuff. But I also thought, I am not making a commentary on Iraq in a song that I've written in under 5 minutes, so I switched it to IMAX. And then I kind of started going into this, I don't really know, take the fact and make them black and white until it lacks a map to see us through. I liked doing that ooh kind of thing. I think I was trying to make some kind of larger critique of I don't know, the world in general, and our foray into the future, and you know, general big scary politics stuff. I think was what I was going for. I don't really know what the song's about. I don't think these are particularly good lyrics. Like this bit here, which is all about like the global greats, or in my head it was almost like the top of the food chain, billionaires and heads of corporations and presidents and stuff, all sitting down, just like, you know, you get like some servant that comes in, and then they take the little big silver dish thing off, and there's just like a baby underneath, and they just start like eating the baby, and that was the imagery that came into my head in that exact moment. And because of the nature of this project, that's what the song is. It's literally it's like photographing a 5-minute little mindset. You know, this wasn't something that I workshopped and really figured out to try and figure out how I was going to say it properly. I don't necessarily know what these lyrics are actually about, but the sounds work. I like the melody, and I like how the words sound next to each other, and that's kind of good enough. So next up, we're going to check out the song that follows it, which is Look All Around. Oh, I think it's actually done now. Yeah, here we are. So I can show you in the actual door itself. So this is the way that I set it all up. This is everything. Let me just collapse it all so you can actually get a sense of what this project actually was. So I'm waiting for it to do the buy me thing. It doesn't do the countdown properly. I think because this window is not actually activated. So now it's actually activated. Go away, don't care, not interested, blah, blah, blah. Oh wait, hang on. Oh yeah, no, that is kind of important actually. So I'm gonna go into the preferences, and I'm just gonna go from ASIO to wave out. There we are, sorted. So now I'll actually be able to show you on this. Yep, there we are, sorted that. Sorry. So yeah, this song has a little kind of bridge B section thing, which is in 12/8. And the way that I did the drums, to sort of let you know, because it sounds impressive, that, oh, I got bits and weird time signatures. Not really. Because the way that I did it is I go into this one, the second drums, which has Modo drums, the VST from IK Multimedia launched up, and you go into grooves, you hit 12/8, burning. so I'm just messing around for now. So you can have a lot of fun with all the drum loops in here. So that's what all these are. That's what all of these drums in here. The more blues is, I've used that in another song as well, these exact drums. See here? Got it? So I've used those exact same drums. Let me just solo them so you can actually get a sense. So this is what the drums sound like. I've used these drums on a song called I Don't Think She's Coming Back. See if you can recognise it. It's in a slightly different tempo. And obviously I've mixed it ever so slightly, so it sounds like there's a bit more high end in this one, there's a bit more low end in this one. And you know, obviously the two songs go in different directions as well. But you use the same elements. It's the same way that both songs use guitar, in a way. I mean, you can do different things and put these grooves into different contexts, and you kind of change things anyway. Like you might, for instance, you might put fills together, and like these are all just little outro tom things. This is meant to be an outro, this isn't meant to be used as a bridge. But why can't I use it as a bridge? Who out there from IK Multimedia is going to come and like tell me no, you know? And then there's a little fill just to connect it. Because I like the dum 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 da down wow dum 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 sort of thing. So if it can get you doing stupid little sounds whilst you're making it, then you are in the money. Okay? So then it all returns to the original thing. Now this is part of where doing an album in a day can be a little bit of a limitation. I would have re-recorded this song, I would have made it a little bit better, but I like what I did here. So that's actually two drums. This is a second drum kit. So you hear that? Dum, dum, da, dum. If I get rid of that, it's just this. So it adds this little spark, and this was a technique that I figured out on the day of making this album, and I'm going to use that technique again because it's really fun. And so yeah, it was just a very basic outro-y, tremolo-y kind of noodly solo that's not necessarily going anywhere, that then finishes out and it leads us straight into the next song. And this is the way that I made the album, is I made the album so that everything kind of just flows from one thing to the other. When I exported each individual track, I literally went into Premiere, the video editing suite, and I just put it down and I just sliced where it felt like the songs kind of transition, and then exported each of those as a WAV file and then uploaded those WAV files to Bandcamp and Spotify and everything. So that's how I did that. That then goes into a waltzy kind of thing, which I've been messing around with for a while, which is an A minor, literally just A minor.
Taking the time to think of a sight, something benign, but something I like, must not be bright.
So yeah, that's a really simple song. It's literally is just this. So you can have a little bit of fun with it. You can do it like fingery style. You can do it a bit like more muted, palm muted. You can have fun with this thing. And then I kind of came up with these lyrics, which were just at first I didn't know what the first verse was about, so I did the first verse. Think of a sight, something benign, but something I like. I liked the melody of the vocals, and that has actually elevated this song. This is actually my favourite song on the album now. It's the one I've revisited the most.
That's all that I need.
Look all around, look all around. And then for the second verse, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But I felt like the look all around was talking about climate change and like how climate change is this big thing that's going on that no one really seems to be taking that seriously. And so this was kind of a look all around, look at all the shit that's going on. Like, Jesus, man. I mean, it's basic little, not brilliant lyrics.
That's That's all that
But I quite liked the idea that going forward into this, there's stuff about like aeroplanes falling, there's stuff about, yeah, I quite like this verse. Collapses the cost of all of our crimes, the smoke and the dust.
Develop great heights, they'll take all of us.
I like that, and I liked the almost gothic kind of take all of us. I was like goth mixed with like, I don't know, operatic almost. Obviously I can't do either of those things, but it managed to work in this context. So that was, I think, the third song that I did. This was the second song that I did, the intro to the album. And then this is next we're going to go into the krautrock song, which I finished and I felt like, oh god, this is the worst one on the album, isn't it? I don't necessarily think it is. I feel like it's at least an interesting thing. I was very much ripping off American Analog's set have a song called Like Foxes Through Fences, which is on their album Know by Heart. Originally I was going to call this song British Analog's set, but I thought that was maybe a bit too on the nose and just a bit like piss-takey, and I've done piss-takey albums before and I didn't really want this to be that. I wanted this to be seen as like a legitimate album in its own right, that if you take away the album made in a day thing, it still holds up. I don't necessarily know if it does. I feel like some of the production's a bit sloppy, I feel like some of the playing is a little bit all over the place, and I feel like sometimes the arrangement of two things working next to each other doesn't quite work just because of how fast I was doing everything, but that's all fine in my opinion, because the album is decent enough considering it was made in a day that I think I like it. I'm proud of it, you know. Very simple ideas and ideas that would never have come about otherwise. So very basic, this one. This was in F-sharp Phrygian. It was just me messing around with F-sharp Phrygian, but it also doesn't sound like it's an F-sharp Phrygian. It sounds like it's actually treating it more like a D major. So it almost sounds more like that tonality when really what I was going for was... So yeah, it was quite a hard song to sort of figure out what scale or tonality actually was. I think in my mind, I was making an F-sharp Phrygian song, but I think it's come out as more of a D major sort of thing, because I was treating, because the bass line does this quite a lot. So it does a lot of that. So it was quite a difficult song to actually figure out what it really was. If I'd had more time, I would have probably put some like keys under it, some drones, and maybe some synthesizers. I think it would have benefited from that, because I feel like the song's a bit thin and a bit stale, and I don't love it, but I'm glad it exists. Then this is the first song that I made for the album. I stupidly began the day by making an 8-minute long prog rock thing. When I told someone that I was making an album in a day, they said, make a song about Polaroids, and then they sent another text that said, and cold mornings. So I was like, oh, brilliant, cheers for that. I've got no ideas for songs anyway, so I'm going to do both of those. So the first one was about this wasn't actually going to be the one about Polaroids, this was going to be the song about Polaroids. And I did write some lyrics for it, which are gone. Okay, whatever, doesn't really matter. So these are the lyrics for the Polaroid song. It's a much more slow Pink Floyd-y kind of thing in G Lydian. It was kind of me also practicing with G Lydian, because I'm working on a kind of a long rock opera progressive rock kind of thing in the same vein as Shine You Crazy Diamond or something like that, or Lady Fantasy, that kind of thing, where it's 20-minute, really like expansive but yet cohesive piece of music that explores the G Lydian tonality. So that was kind of a bit of a practice for that, just making a song, trying different parts. That was my idea, see what works, see what doesn't. I don't think this song works particularly well, but that's because I've noticed that the clean guitar started having a playback at like playback rate of like 0.099996 or something, like really close to 1. So a lot of things ended up a bit out of time and a bit weird because of that, and I sort of fixed bits, but then it kind of fixing it fucked other things up, and it I don't know, I felt like the song kind of fell apart at that point, and it's a long song to fall apart, to be honest, but I feel like when it works, it really works, because the chords are really nice, and I'm definitely going to revisit some of the ideas that are on this song, particularly this.
Polaroid pictures keep me sane.
I like that quite a lot. You can see that I really had to think about what was going on. C sharp, E, F sharp, B, A, and then it repeats. So I came up with this kind of bit mental chorus section.
They're all drinking the blood.
I really like this bit. Obviously, I'm not a great singer, so it sounds a bit mumbly, but I really like that kind of they're all drinking the blood. I liked just having a bit of fun with it, and like kind of, because G Lydian is such a beautiful, ethereal kind of thing, that then transitioning it to C sharp is just kind of like evil. What the fuck's... oh yeah. And then I think it goes into E. Then it goes into E after that, and it does a bit of a crescendo-y thing, which then pays off in B. I was following a song structure that I've used before, where there's 2 verses and they build up to a huge, just crazy, just like all that kind of crazy shit. Obviously that, but sounding good and not just ridiculous. Because a song I did called Communication, which should be on here actually, somewhere. Yeah, it'll be on this. So this song has D section. Yeah. And that was kind of the idea that I was going for. Trying to repeat that sort of same style, but in a different tonality, with a different set of structures, and with the lessons that I learned from making my previous album. That was kind of the idea, and then it repeats again with a little bit of a bridgy sort of calm down section that's going to come in a second. Now, and then it repeats again, and it sort of wraps up with this quite slow, ambience-y sort of section that goes on for a while. It's a little bit dissonant, a little bit fucky. I kind of enjoy it, but I might have been secretly playing for time. Yeah, you see how it says rate on some of these? That really fucked me up, because some of these aren't the right rate or something like that. I don't really understand how it works. And this is for different tracks as well. Like different tracks are in different rates, and I don't understand why it's done that. It really pissed me off. And I was trying to fix it, and I couldn't fix it in time. So I just had to live with it and turn it into a thing. Now this is a much simpler song. This was just me wanting to do this was just an excuse to solo, man. That was literally all this song was. So I came up with a single guitar loop, bass line. can't really solo to it right now. But you get the general idea. It was an excuse to just have some fun, really. That's all this song was. Very simple bass line, but also it's a bass line that's so simple that you can do little variations on it and it won't like take the listener out of what's going on. So this was very much a free-form jam sort of thing, playing for time a little bit, because this was the last major song I did, where I could still use the amps, and like it was early enough in the day that I wouldn't be bothering people. Just before that, I made a metal song because I thought, look, I might as well make a metal song. So I made this, which is a very simple F-sharp Phrygian thing. Again, you can tell I like F-sharp Phrygian. Something like that. I can't remember exactly how it went. A bit of a forgettable song personally for me. I listened to it and I was trying to think of a title for it and I couldn't think of anything. No images or anything like that came to mind. Like the song like this one, it felt very linear to me, so Straight Line felt like a good name for it. Polaroid was a song about Polaroid, so that worked. This song, the krautrock song, I didn't really like, so Quantity felt like a good term for it. Waltz, well, it had the look all around refrain, so that worked, and then Praise the End had the Praise the End refrain in it, so that kind of worked. But Untitled didn't have any lyrics. I did start writing some lyrics, so like the idea was, I don't know what these are about, but it was like these were meant to go over the thrashy section. Frost on the glass, caked in prized halves, I can't take apart, blah 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 blah, something like that. I don't know what I was going for with it. I don't know what it even means. Frost on the glass, caked in prized halves, I can't take apart. I'm literally just desperately trying to lyrical miracle my way through this song in a day. But yeah, this song took a bit of a Tool progression. So it's got this kind of thing, it gets really thrashy and then it kind of comes down. I like all of that. And then it has this sort of breakdowny, I'm not sure what it is. Sorry. We're back. So yeah, it had that, which then built up into a little bit of a solo-y kind of thing, and then that built up into another breakdown section, which then broke down into another solo-y section. And once I'd done that, that was the last big song that I had for the day. That's a 6-minute, semi-prog metal with like various movements and stuff like that. So that was quite a difficult one. You can see, take 15 of 16. So I was really working my nut off to try and figure out a bass line for this and like riffs and stuff. So it was quite a hard sort of thing to actually do, that metal song. And to be honest, metal isn't my forte. It's not the genre I'm the most comfortable in. So I know it's not like a particularly great metal song or anything, because it's literally just, it's not even really a riff, really, is it? Like, come on, come up with something proper. And then the last song, I realised that I hadn't done the song about cold mornings at that point. The metal song was going to be about cold mornings, and then I couldn't be bothered with it. No lyrics were coming to my mind, and I thought, am I going to have to shout lyrics over metal? That is not going to work. So I thought, let's make a quieter song with some soundscapes to it. So this is a really basic song. It's kind of reinterpreting an older song that I'd done called Buongiorno Straniero, which is in F Lydian. And it's sort of... So I wanted to reinterpret that in sort of cold mornings in the foggy haze in my window, the sun of mine goes lying down. I've forgotten what the words are, but yeah, I basically, instead of it being the F augmented chord that starts it off, I made it so the A minor starts it off, because both of those chords, like in Buongiorno Straniera, it feels like it always wants to resonate back into the A minor thing, and I'm like pulling it out. So with Cold Mornings, I just decided to allow the A minor thing to have its time in the sun. And it is literally just 2 guitar tracks. I literally recorded the one, and I do vocals on the same guitar track, just keeping the microphone a bit further away and like a bit hotter so it could kind of get both. And I had to sing a little bit louder so that it hears me over it. So I'll do a quick interpretation of the music, because I really like this song and I really want to expand it into something quite big. So no, it's not this. It's so cold mornings in the bed sheets mighty thin, protecting piercing winds. The warm corpse are lying. I've got to get up, but the air is blue, and I cannot get enough of lying here with you. The blanket's ever so warm, especially when you occupy the space right next to my head. I'm staying in bed. And then we got to verse 2, which I'll do as well. Cold morning star, and every day, with a new excuse in the heart. I don't get any say, I do not think highly of the world outside my window. I am shutting down the sounds. I will text my boss tomorrow morning. Blankets ever so warm, especially when you occupy the space right next to my head. I'm staying in bed. So yeah, that's how that song goes. I really like that song, and I want to expand it into something else with some drums and bass and stuff like that. I feel like you could get a really nice Pink Floyd style arrangement to this song. Yeah, so that's part of why I made this album, is that you do stuff like this and you find out that you've got some really fun ideas. Like that. I would never have come up with any of these songs, right, if I hadn't made an album in a day. None of these songs would have existed, none of these ideas would have existed, nothing about it would have existed, right? So do it, just go make an album in a day. It's actually a lot easier than you think it might be. Like, you see all these YouTubers that say like, oh, I made an album in a day, and they make it out like it's a really difficult process, that's really hard. Am I going to say it's easy? No. Is it impressive that, you know, Rob Scanlon and Andrew Huang managed to make albums in a day and they've done it year in, year out? Yes, it is impressive. However, it's not the craziest thing ever, and you can do it too. It's not that difficult. I didn't wake up, I woke up at 7:30 in the morning, but it's not like I woke up at like 5 in the morning and got straight to it. It's not like I did anything like outside of my own comfort and ability. It's not like I really pushed myself that hard. I just did a little more than usual, really, and that was all it was. And I feel like I could do it again and again and again and again, and I want to do it next month as well. So, and you know, learn lessons from it and so forth, and see what happens, you know. And that was the idea, and yeah, give it a try yourself. And if you do make an album in a day, please send it over, and also upload it to DistroKid, and upload it to Bandcamp, and upload it like to Spotify and SoundCloud and all that stuff. I've not actually done SoundCloud yet. I need to do that. Particular thanks to Lydia Valentine for the album art. She did that, and then I kind of just I put the Polaroid picture down on just a load of other stuff. I've got loads of old notes. Like, these are notes from old songs that I've done, and like that guitar there, I had a dream about 4 years ago, and I woke up and I drew the guitar that was in my dream, and it is literally my dream guitar. I would love to have it. Please. Oh, bollocks. Dropping all sorts of stuff now because the video's coming to a close. I don't even know where that... There we go. So, thank you very much for watching this video, everybody. I hope you managed to get something out of it. And please do check out 12 Hours of Stubbornness. I'm actually fairly happy with it, you know. It's pretty decent. And if you make an album in a day, please send it over. Yeah, you can DM me on, I guess, Instagram, Official Morrison Productions. It's in the links in the description. DM me on there, or email me actually at Official Morrison Films. That's probably a better way of actually contacting me. I'm more likely to see it. Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Please check out the album. I'm very happy with the results, and I'm very proud to share it with everybody. So yeah, love you all. You're all brilliant, and keep going out there and making stuff, man. You'll make something really good one of these days. And if you haven't already. So yeah, take care, everybody. Bye bye.